Okay, the recording is on. Good afternoon, community. My name is VJ Ramjatin. I am the president of this amazing, the Grade 28 Community Education Council, which is made up of 11 members. We are elected parent leaders who are serving the needs and voices and all constituents and stakeholders in our district. And we do so with so much heart and so much pleasure. We are so happy that so many of you have chosen to spend your Thursday evening with us to listen to our constituents, to listen to what concerns are happening, but also to be in community with us. Because it's a great place where we share concerns, but more importantly, where we build. So I want to welcome all of you to tonight's meeting, and want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded and it is stored forever. So we store the chat and we store the video. So we would love to see your faces too. So if you are so willing, and we are not gonna judge, I promise you. Like Principal Greco's eating also, we could do that too. We could eat and be in a meeting. That's okay. We get it. Because we're eating cookies here too. So if you are willing and able to put your cameras on, oh my God, we'll see faces. Yay, Tanisha, there you go, Tanisha Grant. We saw your face. Yes, yes, yes. We miss you all. We miss you all. So there's Principal Hanley. Yay, Maria Radu. There you go. We love seeing faces. We love seeing faces. So thank you for showing your faces. Um, Before we get started, I'm going to ask our uh, first vice president to please do the roll call.
Okay.
Did you unmute?
Yeah. President,
Unmute yourself, please. Unmute me.
I think I did.
Good. Yes.
President Vijay Rajendra
I am here.
and First Vice President Lu Zhao here. Second Vice President Nura Sapna.
She's.
I think she's online.
Are they all co-hosts? Are they all co-hosts? The council members? They are. Okay.
I'm
Nora
here.
just spoke. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Recording Secretary Natifa Luis.
Present.
Treasurer Yutao Chen.
Present.
Member Jaylin.
I'm here.
Member Julissa.
Here.
Member Quentin Mazetin. Here. Okay. Member Simone Tambach.
Yeah.
Member Adriana Alisa. Member
Here.
Member JK Kalyanara.
Yeah. Here.
Member Tanya Vince.
Here.
So we have every member attending, and we meet the quorum in person. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, First Vice President Lu Zhao. And also we would ask our member Simone Dornbach to please make an announcement about the chat feature, so she can let you all know how to sign up to speak and what we expect as a community on the chat.
Good evening and welcome everyone to our April meeting. The chat is open. Please remain kind and respectful, especially when in disagreement. We will not accept hateful comments and will close the chat if participants don't adhere. If you would like to make a public comment, please type your name and speak. You can sign up until what time? 7:45?
Thank you.
7:45.
Thank you, Simone. And I'll always reiterate what she says because I want to make sure it's said twice so you are aware what we're saying. If we feel that we reserve the right to shut the chat feature down at any time, if we feel that the conversation is not amazing at that time. Also, just write the word speak. Write the word speak. So I'm gonna mute. And we'll capture your names. Can we ask Julie? Can you help us with that today? Is that okay? So Julie can help us out with the chat feature. So she'll be tracking your names on the chat where you write the word speak, and you will have some time to make a public comment. So how that works, first person who sign up, first person speaks. And you're gonna ask your questions or ask the district office any questions you may have. We do have a great lineup tonight. We also have 2 resolutions that the council has prepared that we want to vote on tonight. So we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to keep my report very short and say that first I want to praise our council. CEC28 has been doing an amazing, excellent job in terms of really being focused on the community, really bringing to the table all the concerns that's coming up from the community, being a voice for parents, concerns, PTAs, SLTs, you name it, all the meetings that they go to, visiting the schools and spending time in the schools. We want to acknowledge the work of the CEC that they're doing. And, you know, we have built an amazing partnership with all constituents in our district, especially our principals who we see here tonight. And I want to shout out to the principals who are here tonight. Many of you have continuously show up at our meeting month after month. And we acknowledge that. We notice that. We know who comes to our meeting. We know the principals who do show up to the meeting. And it shows your commitment to really learn and understand your community from this perspective, right? Not only in your school community, but beyond that as a whole. So to all the principals who are here, I acknowledge you and I thank you. I thank you for being here. Principal Hanley, John Greco, Robin Signal. And if you are Principal Nicholas Petrello, if you are here, you're a principal, you can just write your word principal before your name so we can know you're a principal. If you're a parent coordinator and you're in the room with us tonight, you can rename yourself a parent coordinator or PC before your name so we know you are here. To all of our administrative staff for the various schools, thank you for what you do and for also being here. To all the janitors and all the crossing guards and all of you who form the community and you show up to our meetings, we acknowledge you. We thank you for your participation and being here. Last but not least, the district office entire team. I want to raise this very high. In the history of our CC, this has been an amazing collaboration that we've had with this current district office in terms of responding to the needs of the community in a very efficient and effective way. To Vic Narine, Dr. Hall, Dr. Blake, Sonia, and the entire team. Thank you for what you do. And really, when parents send us concerns and we send it to you, all of you have been very steadfast in getting responses, getting resolutions, and getting back to the families. And this we acknowledge and we highlight. And that's my report tonight. Not only when we're not doing great, but we're doing great, we should report that also when we're doing great things. So with that being said, we'll go pass the microphone at this time to Dr. Hall, who is our Deputy Superintendent, and she will take the mic at this time. Dr. Hall, go for it, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, President VJ. I just want to say, I want to echo President VJ's sentiments around the spirit of community here in District 28. And thank you all for your commitment to our district. That's our parents, our parent leaders, our local elected officials that are on the call, our principals, parent coordinators, district team members. Thank you, thank you. And this is going to come up later on in the presentation, the very brief presentation that is, that Dr. Blake prepared, but our recent town hall in March, District 28 received a shout out from the Chancellor's office at a recent superintendent's meeting for having the largest number of constituents and community members at one of the Chancellor's town halls. So for the past 2.5 years, the Chancellor has been in office. District 28 broke the record for the largest attendance. So that's a testament to the commitment that that we see each and every month on monthly CEC meetings. So on behalf of Dr. Blake, thank you. So I'm going to share, as President VJ mentioned, Dr. Blake's presentation to our CEC. And regrettably, he's unable to be here this evening, but he did want to offer his warm sentiments and thank you for being here tonight. And I'm going to jump right in and share what he has to present. So we know that our vision and mission is centered around the beautiful, diverse community that we belong to, right? So coming from countless racial, ethnic, language, and beliefs and backgrounds, as a community, we strive for the inestimable contribution to the lives of our scholars. And in our mission, I want to highlight the portion that talks about We work closely, we commit to every school maintaining high academic standards and work closely with families as we do each and every day, particularly each month on CEC meetings, to work closely with families so that all scholars are learning at high levels. So we want to make sure that all that we do points back to our children, right? All the conversations that we have on CEC, all the one-on-one conversations we have in school buildings point back not just to the adults and how we work together, but how that collaborative work helps us to strive for the inestimable contribution to our scholars' lives. So we know that here in District 28, we have had over 3,000 new Yorkers join our community. And to that end, we have drawn a very strong focus on our multilingual learners. So you'll see here a focus on MELS and what we're doing as a District 28 community to ensure that we are supporting all students, but particularly at this time, our multilingual learners. So what have we done in response to the high number of new Yorkers that have joined our community? We've hired a MESA, a multilingual learner and English language learner service administrator. This is an administrator that already belonged to the D28 community, but she transitioned to this role to support our multilingual community. We have highlighted L instruction during our principal conferences, and we've dove deeper into the New York City reads and the instructional shifts as it relates to MELS in K-8, MELS multilingual learners. We're offering weekly office hours for our educators to discuss policy, compliance data, and instruction for L with our director of L programs and our MESA. So to note, we have two positions that directly support our multilingual learners, the MESA, as mentioned, and our L director. We've added one more bilingual program in our district, so that takes us from 2 to 3. The bilingual programs in our district are currently 82, 86, and 354. So those will be the 3 schools that will have multilingual programs by next fall. Currently, 2 of them do. We have 2 of our 7 lever groups focused on L instruction. So you may be wondering, what are lever groups? Lever groups are an opportunity for principals to identify an area of strength or an area of growth, and principals work in cohorts to visit each other's schools around that area of focus. So we have principals every month, they're visiting each other's schools from each other. We believe in collaboration, as we talked about, being a beautifully diverse district, and there's enough capacity and enough learning in the room, on the Zoom call, across our district to learn from one another. And we take pride in being able to do that and being able to be in community each and every day. We're meeting and planning regularly with the Queen's policy team. We have planned and are offering a series with Teaching Matters around L instruction. We developed a series of professional learning opportunities, again, around the shifts. And finally, we're supporting individual schools with targeted visits and PDSA cycles. That's Plan, Do, Study, Act. So in each of our schools, and this is not only for English language learners, but across every aspect of the school, in ELA, in math, and students with IEPs, across the entire community, our instructional coaches are going into schools and they are engaging in what's called a PDSA cycle. Again, that's Plan, Do, Study, Act. So our instructional coach will meet with the principal and they will visit classrooms and determine what will the area of focus be at this point in the school year. And together they will devise a plan, they will execute the plan, they'll study and review the plan and see if the plan is meeting the intended goals, and they will act upon the plan, and the cycle continues to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our students and adults in the buildings. So attendance, none of this can happen if our scholars are not present. So I want to say thank you to all of our
I think we are having some connection issues with Dr. Paul's line, but we can always come. Am I muted?
Yeah.
Am I muted? No, you can hear me, but it's on the computer screen. Okay, so I think Dr. Hall's computer is.
Can you hear me?
Hall, are you back?
I'm back. Uh-oh.
There, we can hear you now. Yes, go ahead.
Did I leave off at attendance?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So I'll pick up from there. So our current attendance is our overall average is 90.8%. The citywide average is 89.7. So we're above the city. In March 23, we were at 90.4 attendance. So we have, by this point in the year, we are above where we were last year. So kudos to our community for the increase. Year to date, chronic absenteeism is 34.9% versus the citywide of 34.7. So we're right on par somewhere, along the same lines as the city. March of last year, we were at 37.1%. So again, that's an improvement from last year to this year. So again, that's a celebration among our community because it takes all of us to ensure that our students are coming to school. It takes families and it takes the school community to ensure that they are engaging and exciting opportunities that encourage students to come to school daily. And it takes our families to make sure that students get out the door and get to our buildings. So finally, around professional development, we just completed a 4-series professional learning with Everyday Labs. They are a New York City Public Schools partner that helps us to address barriers around attendance, and they offer us next steps for improvement. What is coming down the pipe in District 23? We have a grant called LEAPS for students in temporary housing. And also we have a grant, the same grant called LEAPS supports us around social emotional learning and language translation services. We've identified schools that have the highest population of newest New Yorkers, and those are the schools that will receive the LEAPS grant. We are prioritizing ELA and algebra regents in our middle schools particularly. We haven't had as many middle schools with the ELA regents, but we are prioritizing that as a new regents to be offered in all of our middle schools. Typically, the English language arts regents is offered in the 11th grade in high school, but we are prioritizing it for our middle schools. So that's exciting to know that our middle schoolers will have the opportunity to take the English regents here in District 28. We have a partnership with SWIFT for coaching and professional learning for around leadership wellness in select schools in our district. We have a partnership with the Office of Teacher Development around inclusive hiring practices. You may recall that last school year, under the leadership of Dr. Pate, we were provided with some information around a need for stronger inclusive hiring practices in our district, and we are able to offer that service at this time. Finally, on this slide, we have a D28 hiring fair because we are working to attract new teachers to our district, additional teachers to our district. Shout out to the entire community because the Chancellor's Town Hall was phenomenal. I want to thank everyone that offered their questions, their concerns around what's happening in our district and elevated their voices to our Chancellor and to his deputies and the entire central office to ensure that our concerns were addressed. Thank you to Principal Burns, who allowed us to use the building to have this conference. The Brooklyn Queens MWB Expo at York College was very well attended, and our district, as you can see, was well represented at that expo. I believe there's one more slide. So on behalf of Dr. Blake, I'm actually going to read this slide verbatim because I know he wants to make sure that this message is shared with all of you. Dr. Blake would like to take this opportunity to thank the entire CEC, our elected officials, our school leaders for their commitment to our students, families, and educators. Truly, it is inspiring. Together, let's continue this remarkable journey hand in hand as we shape the future of our education for our scholars. We want you to know that your voices and your impact is immeasurable. So just as the way we strive for the inestimable contribution to the lives of our scholars, we want you to know that as a community, we're committed to our collective success. Thank you all, and the team will remain on for questions and concerns. So myself, Vic, Sonia will stay on the call, and if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to use the chat, or after the session, we'll take your questions and concerns. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. That was really, really amazing. You're presenting in such an efficient manner. Thank you for bringing all that information to us. We appreciate it, Dr. Hall, and you've always been forced to be reckoned with in the district, and you step in and we acknowledge that as well. Yes, to Principal Burns from MS217, thank you for hosting the CEC for the Town Hall with our Chancellor. So you all should know, CEC28 was the first CEC to host the first Town Hall for our Chancellor. And he remembered that, and when he came back for his second time around, of course, he was challenged with our questions, and he was, asked really tough questions, but his team came prepared. and they provided answers. And then we are doing our part to follow up on the questions that you submitted that was not answered to get answers from them as well. Principal Burns, you did an amazing job. Really, we felt really special. The big signs on the walls, the decoration, the curtains, the lighting, everything. You went above and beyond, and we really appreciate what you did to really highlight this event. The Chancellor also mentioned to me how amazing it was, the facility itself. Thank you for doing that. So want to acknowledge in the room really quickly too. We have here Principal Jacob Lau with us tonight. We have Principal Nicola Villa, who you will hear from later on. She's in the room with us tonight also. And if there are any other principals, please put the word principal before your name so I'll know you're a principal and you're here so we can say hi to you. We also have a PEP member, Venus, who's here with us tonight. Well, thank you for being here. We also have Community Board 9 Chair, Sherry Algreda, who is here with us tonight. Thank you for being here, Sherry. And we also have Community Board 12 and 6 members who are here, who will speak later on as well. To all the elected official team members, we have Senator John Lou Sujin office is here to represent the office. Thank you for being here. And to all the other elected officials, staff who are here, you will get a chance later on to bring greetings from your office to the entire community. Stephen Stowe, you are here, CEC28's president. We acknowledge you, we see you, and thank you for being here. And the Title I chairperson, Alicia Leonard, is also here with us in our room tonight, and we acknowledge you and thank you for being here. Sonia, is there anything you wanted to add that we may not, we forgot from the district office in terms of parent engagement? Sonia, anything?
Good evening, everyone. Just highlighting again that this is the time where PAPTAs are getting their nomination committees together, right? The important work of electing your new representatives next year. We just did training on nominations and elections. Some of you have reached out for one-on-one with your executive boards, possibly another session. So if you're interested, let me know. But this is really important work that can be challenging, very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. A lot of information, regulations, bylaws, and I'm always here to support that process. So you can always email me, and then we'll also be doing end of the year June transfer of records in late May. So that's really it from this end. Looking forward to being here the rest of this evening.
Thank you so much, Sonia. And I want to remind everyone, Sonia is our family leadership coordinator from the district office, and she oversees and she looks after the district for the elementary and middle schools. She looks after the elementary and middle schools. For high schools, they have their own FLC, and they have their own team of people who look after the concerns and see after the concerns of parents. So Sonia, we thank you for all that you do, and we thank you. Next on our agenda, my friends, we have two members who were one of them were co-chair. I think they were both co-chairs of the, one of them was the co-chair, Joanna, they're both Joannas, who are presented tonight on the class size law. And they were also part of the working group that provided recommendations to the Chancellor about this law and how it's going to be unfolded. So at this point in time, we're going to be asking them to unmute and make a presentation at this time. The Joannas.
I saw Joanna here, so I am Johanna, and I'm joined here by Joanna Garcia. We're both spelled the same with the first names, but we have different pronunciations. And I will defer to my esteemed co-chair of the working group. I was only the co-chair of a subcommittee, the budget and finance subcommittee. So I'll pass over to Joanna to introduce herself.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, and thank you, Mr. President, for inviting us and for continuing to have this very important conversation. We only have 7 minutes together. I just want to clarify that's our time limit, yes?
Yeah, we'll give you up to 10. It's okay.
Okay. We're going to try to go through it quickly because I know you have a resolution, so it means there's been extensive conversation, so I'll try not to repeat points or just discussions that you probably already have. So as Johanna mentioned, I was one of the co-chairs along with Dr. Marmer, who I believe also had the opportunity to speak with you previously of the class size working group. And Johanna was the co-chair with Naveed of the Budget and Revenue Subcommittee. And so I'm going to go next. Thank you, Johanna, so much for helping. Class size, I don't want to make this discussion where we litigate whether or not class size is important. What I do want to underscore, which as CEC you probably know, I believe this CEC in particular, this school district, when parents took their survey, class size was the second highest important marker in terms of what parents look for in education, and class size came up as number 2, and a class size law was passed. And it didn't parachute. And that's something that I want to get into. Some people have this sense that this law just kind of parachuted out of nowhere with no input. But a great deal of it has been over decades long. And it's been a response to an actual much larger fight, which is the Campaign for Fiscal Equity, which was about 30 years ago and was championed by a CEC parent leader just like yourself. And after many years and just being persistent, won $16 billion, not just for New York City students, but for all students. And one of the major proponents of really singling out how the state of affairs in terms of fiscal, the fiscal climate with our schools, what it pointed to as there being a lack of sound basic education. One of the biggest markers was overcrowded classrooms in our overcrowded schools. And so this was a fight long in the making, but what occurred is, as I'm sure all you know, as people who have been so vested in our public education, is that we've been struggling with shoestring budgets because our funding wasn't fully funded. The formula wasn't fully funded. But a year or so ago, it was finally fully funded. And so it was time to say, hey, New York City public schools, you kicked the can down the road long enough. Now we need legislation to actually make you do something that you were supposed to already begin doing some time ago. So I go to the next slide. Are you able to go next, Johanna?
I'm trying. Hold on. Let me see something.
Okay.
I'll get there. Oh, back. Okay. Hold on. There. Okay.
And this, I mentioned this again, that lawsuit was Campaign for Fiscal Equity, CFE 1993. All you have to do is actually Google CFE, and you'll get a great deal of information of how class size was part of it. And as I go through, I don't know if there's going to be a Q&A portion, but I do want to acknowledge that so far I've seen 2 of my esteemed members of the working group. I think it's Deborah and Steve in the chat. It's powerful, of course. It was part of, I guess, the dynamic in our working group. Our working group met for 9 months, and it was a back and forth discussion of our different opinions and different points of views. But I'm going to go and discuss what actually was the purview of the working group. Next. Okay, so the class size law passed in 2022. And again, I'm going quick because I want to get to a little bit to more of the meat of the things. And what the class size law indicates is that it's going to cap 20 students, K to 3 at 20 students, 4 to 8 to 25 students. No, I'm sorry, go back, 20 students for K to 3 and 4 to 8 for 23 students, and high school would be 25 students. And there are exceptions for that. For example, gym classes and some specialty classes, of course, can be a little higher. Public schools are asked to have a plan. New York City DOE is asked to have a plan where you go 20% and 20%, 20% until you get to 2028, and you meet the 100% compliance in terms of class size reduction. Next. This is a graph. This has been shared. A lot of this information is publicly available, but this is just an example of what I mentioned earlier. Because the Foundation Aid formula under Campaign for Fiscal Equity was finally fulfilled and finally fully funded, New York City began to see a record high increase of funding for their schools. And an example, and this is a graph kind of charting that for you, and it's 1.3 billion in additional annual support for New York City public schools in the last 3 years. Again, that's as a result of the CFE Campaign for Fiscal Equity settlement. What is the class size reduction law? And this is really important to really understand what it is. The class size reduction law is not the recommendations. That's completely separate. So this is what the law says. It's the caps, which I mentioned, the caps for K to 12 does not apply to pre-K. It doesn't impact the 12 one-to-one IEP classes. So a class size reduction plan must be approved by the chancellor and the respective presidents of the UFT and CSA. It has a prescribed timeline for the public process for the development, posting, and submission of this plan. I'm going to emphasize here, posting and submission of this plan. This is why CECs are so important in informing what this plan is. New York City Public Schools has to provide a plan every year to the New York State Department of Education. It is very important that CECs have a voice in that plan so that you are not left behind and you are not marginalized in terms of what that plan looks like for you as a school community. Annual reports on the status of the implementation of the class size reduction plan with corrective action plans certified by the state or city controller required if the state decides that the city has not demonstrated sufficient decreases in class size to meet caps in the law. And last, and this is also important, penalties can be imposed by the state education department in the form of reduced state funding if adequate progress to reduce class size is not made. Because class size has always been part of Campaign for Fiscal Equity, this law is just tightening what was already there and saying, listen, New York City Public Schools, if you don't have a real plan where you're demonstrating progress, you are going to be penalized by having a reduction in dollars. Please provide an adequate, satisfactory plan that shows that you are on your way to reducing class size. Next. There are exemptions, right? So there are exemptions built into the law. One of them is space exemption, then it's over-enrolled students exemptions, license area shortage, severe economic distress, elective and specialty classes. And then you see that the approval includes UFT and CSA. With the first one for special space exemption, it's basically saying, if we're going to consider this exemption, then New York City Public Schools, and in this case, School Construction Authority has to demonstrate that the capital budget is aligned to resolve the exemption. What does that mean? It's saying, guys, you have to at least show us that you're trying, that you're working with the school community, that you're working with the school, and that you're working with everyone to at least make this a reality and see how we can make this as feasible as possible before saying, hey, I want a space exemption. And the class size recommendations allow for not immediately going to, hey, we got to build, but what are the steps that we have to consider to look at cost, to look at space, and also look at what kind of school community, and more specifically, what kind of school we want to continue being when it comes to reducing class size. So there are exceptions already built into the law. Next. This is specific to this CEC. In the working class, in the working group, we found that schools in districts 26, 28, and 31 have the lowest percentage of classes at or below in class size caps. Queens as a borough was discussed at length in our bigger group meetings, as well as in our small work groups. And this is important to underscore because there are already school communities, CECs, that are starting to have discussions amongst themselves of how they're going to communicate and what they're going to communicate with New York City Public Schools of what do they want class size reduction plans to look like for them. And it's really important, especially because Queens is overcrowded and has so much need in terms of building, has so much need in terms of capacity, that you're part of that conversation early on. Again, this is already law. There are already plans that are in the works. There's already a date by which the DOE has to submit a plan to state ed. And you want to make sure that as a school community, your needs are reflected in those plans moving forward. Next. There's been conversations about funding. I spoke about it already. There's been record high amounts being already provided to New York City Public Schools. But let's be real. Let's talk about the fiscal cliff, right? We're worried. We're worried about Summer Rising. We're worried about all these other important programs that fall under the DOE that were paid with COVID federal dollars. And right now we're facing a fiscal cliff. And what that means really as a school community is for us to hold our governments responsible for really having a budget to meet the demands of our children in our schools. What that means is not that we become we're not the controller, we're not the ones who are holding the purse strings, but we are telling and saying to New York City Public Schools, this is the law, this is what needs to happen, and make it happen. And if we get stuck on where is the money, instead of coalescing and really collaborating with each other as a school community across the city, saying these budget cuts are unacceptable, then we're having a conversation that has us at a standstill. We have to have conversations with the mayor's office that budget cuts are unacceptable, and we have to have conversations with the state, with the federal, with the city, that there are revenue generators that have to be steered towards our public schools. That being said, and I say this, and I didn't say this when I introduced myself, but I am also the chief of staff to New York State Senator Robert Jackson, who at some point when he was in the city council was chair of the education committee and continues to champion education, including CFE and the $16 billion for all students in public schools. That being said, we're in the middle of a budget run on a state level. So we are having conversations of making sure that New York City is going to be okay. But we are also not saying that we're gonna have New York City kind of off the hook, just leave them kind of autonomous and not accountable to how they're handling the budget. I heard earlier today that the city council, which is the balance to City Hall, found that there's an additional $6 billion that wasn't accounted for. Or so again, I want to implore all school communities to not get stuck on there isn't enough money, because every time that a state budget and a city budget is being negotiated, when you push forward what your priorities are for your community, the money is found. It's all about prioritizing the money and aligning with the values of the community. And in this in this instance, our school community. Next.
4 minutes left.
Okay, you said 4 minutes, right? So I'm
Yes.
gonna speed up. Budget cuts have already been made. I'm gonna go to the next slide. I know that as a CEC, you deal a great deal with the capital plan. The capital plan is incredibly problematic. It never really reflects the need for building more capacity in our different school communities. This is part of the same conversation, and I'll leave it at that because you're a CEC, so I'm sure that you're already having these conversations. Next. Recommendation. This is really important because I know there's been a little bit of, this is what the working group has been recommending, and some of it has to do, I know, with transportation. In consultation with school communities, this is really important. All over in our report, it says, in consultation with school communities, there should be no plan made to reduce class size without your consultation. You get to decide and inform what that process is. And someone I saw in the chat mentioned SLT. I don't know in what context, but school leadership team is the perfect place to begin to discuss what that plan should look like for your schools. All the members of the working group subcommittee voted to recommend that the enrollment be adjusted in the overcrowded schools and buildings in consultation with the community if there are nearby underutilized schools with the same grade configurations. There was also a conversation about traveling, and no, there was no conversation about busing anyone out. So two things need to be clear. The law does not ask New York City public schools to bus children out, like to far away districts in terms of enrollment. And it actually has guardrails as to how far, if you're going to redistribute. So that's the second thing. But there's another third item here. Capping enrollment is not for the majority of the schools. And it's not the first thing that the recommendation asks the school communities to consider. It's actually one of the very last things that it asks us to consider. And again, it emphasizes deep consultation with the school community. Next. Working group members raised concerns about transit time for students. And I just want to emphasize here, there are specific guardrails. For example, elementary students, if they're going to be redistributed to another school, and these are not current students, these are would-be students to another school, only if it was less than half an hour away from their home walking, and middle school students if it was less than half an hour away via public transit. So those are the guardrails, and guardrails means that it's not set in stone, but no one is recommending transportation far away places for our students. Next. More teachers are needed. I'm not going to belabor this point. Next, because I do want to try to get to the end. Revenue and saving proposals. There are proposals for generating revenue. One of them is charter school transitional aid, and right now there's a bill for it. It would be wonderful to have this CEC write a resolution supporting that this bill passes, because it would mean more money for New York City, so that there's more money for our public schools. Next. Final reflection. So this is the last slide. This is the final reflections of co-chairs. So again, the co-chair for the working group was myself and Dr. Marmer. And it reads, the report stands as a testament to the unwavering dedication and countless hours invested by the members of the working group. Our collective efforts have been concentrated on creating an environment that affords our students the quality learning conditions that they rightfully deserve. We earnestly, both Dr. Marmer and I, earnestly implore that our recommendations receive the earnest consideration of the chancellor and this esteemed leadership team. While we recognize that the execution of many recommendations will entail multiple steps, including community consultation, we want to emphasize the critical importance of promptly involving our principals, teachers, parents, guardians, and students in this transformative journey. So as we are getting closer and closer to 2028, it is important that school communities understand that there is a law and there are plans that have to be submitted, and to have a say on what this plan means for you and what it will look like for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you both for being here and for all your hard work in the working group. Now, I remember it was tough discussions happening, but you kept your cool and everyone kept their cool, and we had those conversations. And thank you. We acknowledge your hard work and dedication also to this. If you could stop sharing for a second, I appreciate that.
Okay, I actually would like to add just
Johanna,
one. Can
Johanna
I have
and
1
Johanna,
minute?
both of you. Thank you.
1 minute?
Let's see here.
Johanna, we just want to add
Still
this.
sharing now, right?
Go ahead,
Your
Johanna.
slides are still showing.
Yes, I wanted to add just 1 minute. Am I on mute? I'm sorry.
Good evening, President.
Okay.
You're not on mute.
Sharing, I appreciate that.
So I was going to speak a little bit. I'm glad Joanna was able to.
In the meantime, while we get the slides down,
I'm
I
sorry.
want to
I'm
remind
sorry.
everyone you have a few minutes more to sign up to speak if you want to speak at the meeting and make a public comment. You're going to have a chance to do so. Vanessa, so you raise your hand, but we have your name down, Vanessa, to speak in the comment section. So I saw your hands over there, and you'll ask a question at that time. So you have until 7:45 to write your word "speak" in the chat feature. At 7:45, we will stop taking names down, and then we'll add the list. Julie will add the list to the chat, so you'll see the order in which you put the word "speak." I saw Ari Feldman just put the word "speak." Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So we're gonna move along. We have 2 resolutions, but I want to get through all the presentations first, and then we'll come back to the resolutions. So next, we're gonna have, for the first time ever in my presidency for the past 5 years, we are having a D75 principal present at our meeting, and it's been years in the making. And thankfully, we have an amazing council member, Quentin Messitin, who's on the ground. He's doing the work, and he was able to reach out and get Principal Nicole Avila to present it, and we are so excited to hear her provide space for her to present. So this time, Principal Avila, you're on.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. I know there are a lot of really important things to talk about today, but I'd just like to share my screen and just tell you a little bit about District 75, because I'm sure that it exists somewhere in some of your buildings, and it's something that just is citywide. So we're going to talk a little bit about District 75, and I will keep to my 7 minutes, and we'll talk a little bit about my school, P811Q. So just to tell you, what is District 75? It is a citywide district. It exists in all 5 boroughs, and its purpose is to provide highly specialized instructional support for students with significant challenges, such as autism spectrum disorder, significant cognitive delays, emotional, and multiple disabilities. So pretty much almost every single building in the city contains some sort of District 75 program. All of our schools are multi-sited, and most of them are co-located with other schools. And my partner Principal Signal from P140 is here tonight. So just talking about the different classes that exist in District 75, they are all small classes. The ratios that you see here refer to the students, the teachers, and the number of paraprofessionals that are assigned to the class. So within District 75, there are 1211 classes, 811 classes, 611 classes, 1214 classes, inclusion, and a growing number of CTE and work-based learning programs. And so these are designed for students with just specific needs, and they're referred to these classes by school psychologists that do evaluations. And District 75 supports both alternate assessment students that are on the track to vocational training and standardized students who are working towards diplomas. So as I said, District 75 placement happens because students are evaluated by school psychologists to determine what their educational needs are. This happens when students are turning 5 and coming into the system for the first time, and also when students are reevaluated for services. When you're in District 75, you're reevaluated every 3 years. And when there is a request by the school or a parent, the reevaluation process happens also by the school psychologist. So things that you may see that you might not see in a typical general education or special education class We do have many paraprofessional support staff to support the students that need those services. A lot of students require communication supports like devices, visuals, eye gaze boards, to support communication. We have lots of related service providers. We have a lot of occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech teachers, and they all push into the classrooms to provide a comprehensive educational support system for the students in the room. We need a lot of physical equipment to assist our students in learning, and sensory items and calm down corners are often seen so our students can take breaks when they need to. I am the principal of the Marathon School, P811Q. We support 540 students ages 5 through 22, and we're located in 10 school buildings across Queens. So I listed the different districts we reside in. My main site, which is a self-contained building, is in District 26, along with the Queens High School of Teaching, Francis Lewis High School, and Bayside High School. In your district, in District 28, we exist in 140Q. In District 29, we have 4 other elementary sites at 136, 147, 37, and 156. And in District 30, we have an inclusion program at Louis Armstrong Middle School. So our mission as a District 75 school is to maintain high expectations for all of our students by promoting challenging educational and functional opportunities. So we do that by supporting the development and implementation of what we call comprehensive programs, because, and I'm sure this is true for every single student, but it takes a team to address needs that all of our students require, all of your children require. So we want to maximize independence and potential inclusive environments within our public schools and global community. And the reason why we exist in all districts across the city is to make sure that there are programs available for the students that live in the school district where the school program exists. So we make sure we are able to provide students to go to their community school and receive the supports that they need on their individualized education plans. So we are a team, and we address significant needs that exist in the classroom. And we address those needs so in hopes that our students don't live and exist in District 75 for their entire career, but we want to provide supports for them to be able to move on and work and live in one of your schools and one of the District 28 schools and be successful in that environment. For students that will remain with us, we focus on vocational and work-based learning, and family support is a vital part of this whole process. So what makes us unique as a school and within District 75 is that we're adapting the HMH into reading for our alternately assessed students to ensure that they're getting grade level, they're being exposed to grade level work from kindergarten on. So we're using HMH Really Great Reading, Attainment Go Math, and then in middle school and high school, we use Unique Learning and also Lexia. 811Q believes that every learning experience needs to have student voice within it, despite whatever that means for our students. So we have core instructional practices that we expect in every lesson to promote student voice and ownership over their learning. And it exists school-wide in every classroom across all of our 10 sites. The other special thing about 811 is we're part of the New York City Schools Lighthouse Collaborative Program, which means that we're one of 62 schools that were selected to share our promising practices with other educators across the city. We host citywide visits where educators come and spend a day in our school and visit our classrooms and learn from our teachers and support staff. Quentin was able to visit and be part of a parent panel for the last 2 visits, which was wonderful. And it's just a really good opportunity to meet other educators from both general ed schools and special education schools and learn from one another. So I mentioned vocational experiences, and this is the second to last slide. So the reason why vocational experiences are so important to our students and can be used in all schools across the city is because it's an authentic experience that promotes communication, ownership over learning, purpose, and pride. And we're able to embed core subject areas into a hands-on activity that contributes to the school. So an example of this is we have at our main site and a high school site, we don't have an office in the building. We have a student-run office. We have a student-run cafe, a snack cart. We have a horticulture program and gardens in all of our sites. The students run the mailroom. We have students that create our school merchandise. So as you'll see, that's our superintendent, Mr. Louisant, and he is holding a bag that students made, and the student that's with him is wearing a apron that students made. So all of our students are contributing to promoting the well-being and moving our school forward. And they take pride in that, and it's the most engaged I see students in the classroom is when they're contributing. And finally, the most important part of this whole process and our work as a school community is our family partnerships, because students that come to school with the significant needs like our students do, their success depends on our partnerships with families and making sure that the things that are happening in school are taught to family members and can be practiced at home. And that's how the most progress is made. So as a school community, we have town hall meetings every month. We have family support groups every month. We bring in our families to be able to visit and sit in our students' classrooms every month so they learn about how they're learning and what they're doing. We have student of the month events that our parents come to, and we have parent and family appreciation events periodically throughout the year to make sure that our families who, as you all probably know, you're all parents. Being a parent is a very difficult job. And from the chat, I'm just seeing how much you're advocating for the experience that your children have at school. So that hard work needs to be appreciated and recognized. So we always try to make sure that that's happening across our school community. So that is 811 and District 75. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share it with you. And I just want to say that this is Autism Awareness Month and Neurodiversity Awareness Month. So it's a month to celebrate differences that we all have and celebrate those differences and knowing that they're making us a stronger community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to be here. And thanks to our outstanding council member, LeQuinton, for really doing his part to really uplift the D75 community. And we would love to have you at least twice every semester just to bring updates to share, because for too long, the D75 community have been forgotten, have never held space in public discussions. And now we want to make sure we don't go back to that. So thank you for being here and sharing information with us. And we would love to visit your school and see your school. It looks amazing. Please invite us. Thank you so much.
You're always welcome. Thank you.
She'll be on board to answer questions that you may have or concerns that you may have as a parent. She'll be on board to answer those questions later on. And our next topic today is really nice. This is the amazing CEC that we have. We are all parents too on this board, and we all have jobs too, and we work and we do things and we have lives and families. And what we are experiencing sometimes was what you're experiencing. And one of our council members, our amazing recording secretary, Natifa Lewis, she is navigating questions on the ground. And she said, VJ and team, we should have a discussion here in a broader council meeting with the community about this very next topic. And we asked Natifa, what's the title of your topic tonight? She said it is admission results. Where do we go from here? Right? So many of you have been receiving the past day middle school admission results, and then last month we had the high school admission results, and you're confused, don't know what to happen, what to go, who to go to. Natifa is here to answer some of these questions. Natifa, over to you. She's getting on there right now. And I hope many of you got your choices that your kids wanted to go to. There we go. She's ready.
All right. Good night, everyone. So this is just, it's not an exhaustive part, and it is, oh, I'm not on camera, am I? Okay, there I am. It is not an exhaustive presentation. It's more, as Vijay mentioned, as a parent, I currently have two students who are entering high school, one student who is exiting high school. And as a parent leader, I've been sometimes getting a number of questions on the ground. And I felt that it was appropriate to come to our meeting and try to put it out to the greater community. I have to give a shout out to my principal at Queens Collegiate, Mr. Harrell, because the day that middle school admissions came out, we were having our PTA meeting, and I started getting, not middle school, but high school admissions were coming out. I started getting questions from parents. I reached out to him, and within 5 to 10 minutes, asking him, can you present at the meeting on that? He himself going through the process. And I think I was inspired by him doing a great job in alleviating some of those questions and taking some of those things, playing around himself, so that he could not just give the official DOE answer, but the answer that's also coming as a parent and as a principal. So from that part, I wanted to just also try to extend what I can here. All right, so high school admissions, middle school admissions came out yesterday, 4/3, and I know we have a couple of middle school ones even in the room. And high schools came out 3/7. For any of the screen programs or so forth, including auditions, and I'm not as familiar this year with the middle school process because I did not have a student going into that. But your admission letter should have the program that you're selected for. If there was any kind of a screened thing, it may have data related to that. For high school programs, those audition results also had scores for the school you either were admitted to or the others that you did not. In the case of high schools, if you received, there were 3 main parts that you could receive offers from in the public schools. So this is your regular application that had up to 12 programs. You were either listed to one of those programs or in a few rare cases, none. And I'll address a little bit of that later. You could have also received an offer from a testing specialized high school. So these are your Stuyvesants, your Brooklyn Techs, your Bronx Science, and etc. And you could have also received an offer from our audition specialized high school. In this case, it's one of 6 programs from LaGuardia. So there are some lucky children who have what I call a good problem where they have up to 3 offers. And those offers are, you must accept one by tomorrow. There is a little bit of conflicting information as to what happens if you do not accept by that time. I believe like if you have 2 offers and you have your specialized versus your regular, you may be defaulted to the specialized. I stand to be corrected. I do not know what the situation is with 3 offers. However, it goes to say you should accept your offer and not allow the system to do it for you. All right. Just as someone who works in tech, I also do advise if you are waiting for that, but just from a stress level, don't wait till the last minute. That's when sometimes the systems go down or whatnot. We're hoping that it doesn't. It has been great so far, but there is that possibility. All right. So how are offers managed? Offers and waitlists are managed by the enrollment office and not the individual schools. So I know many people, myself included, have been sometimes frustrated in terms of reaching out to schools and finding out different things related to that. However, the schools have limited control, especially for testing, screened, and other programs. For general applications, especially schools that have op-ed parts where they have a certain number of a certain amount of leeway, they have a little bit more flexibility, especially if they are not overextended. So how do you see your offers and how can you manipulate them? So in your My Schools account, which everyone who has a child in that situation would have, because you use it to apply, you will see next to the schools on your wait list the likeliness of being provided, you know, an offer or so forth based on, you know, whether or not you were, whether you were told that whether you got an offer. So if you got an offer, anything, and it was not your first choice, anything that was above your offer would be automatically added to a wait list. Anything that's below, you have to add yourself. Okay, if you add a school to your wait list or you were automatically offered one, please check your My Schools account very often. You know, some wait lists have been moving slowly. We anticipate for the high school parts in particular that after tomorrow, there may be quite a number of movements. But you have 1 week to accept any waitlist offer. If you do not respond within that week, you will get a nice, lovely email that says response deadline for your offer has passed, confirming that you did not respond to it. You will similarly receive an email confirmation every time you either accept or decline an offer. You can only have one accepted offer at a time. So in the case where you had multiple offers, they would all be listed as pending. And the minute that you click on one of them, it will automatically also send you declinations for the others. Okay, this is one of the reasons that people have sometimes been waiting to the last minute. The confirmations would be coming from noreply@schools.nyc.gov. So please check your spam filter in case if needed for this address. Also, as noted in the name, it does not accept replies. It does not accept inquiries. As we said, these are fielded through your enrollment offices. Okay, so I just mentioned that. The enrollment office has also confirmed that most schools do overextend offers based on a history of declined offers. So for very popular programs in particular, we expect that, you know, if 2 students get an offer to a specialized high school and a regular high school, some may choose the specialized, some may choose the other. If they have, you know, between a LaGuardia and a specialized high school, they expect a certain amount of parts, and these, so they overextend based on the history. Like if they have a history of getting 20% of their students declining, they may extend a little bit more than that or so forth. So one of the frustrations that I personally have had is that, like, I know families who are, you know, declining offers or accepting offers, but at the same time, not seeing waitlists moving. This is one of the reasons. And in non-screen programs, you may also see your waitlist numbers going up because, as mentioned, there are certain select cases where you may be able to jump the waitlist or so forth, right? So a special case in particular is, a special case would be like in a, say you have a family in a non-screen program member or so forth, you may be able to get that in there. Those do not work for audition schools. Those do not work for any kind of screen programs. If you are in a 6 to 12 school, and we do have a number of them in our district and throughout the city, you're not automatically, you have to go through the high school process just as any other student. However, you do have priority within your school. If you list that school as number 1, you're automatically accepted. If you do not list it as number 1 and you're matched to a school that is higher than that school on your list, you are also not automatically added to that waitlist. So if you do, for example, change your mind and prefer to stay at the school you are currently at, if it's a 6 to 12, and you can re-add yourself to the wait list. And this is one of the cases that you will propel to the top of the wait list and be almost guaranteed an offer. In the rare cases, as mentioned, that some students, based on you know, admissions number and so forth, and I'm not going to go into that. When most of the applications were going in, some people had questions about like their random numbers and so forth. Sometimes based on that, you may not have been matched to any program because unfortunately, especially depending on where you are and the programs you apply to, many of them do not have priorities, right? At the high school level in particular. So, you know, I am focused a little bit more on high school because I could have massaged that data a little bit more, and middle school only came out yesterday. So, but in the case that you did not receive an offer, you have the same opportunity to add yourself to wait lists, including the wait list of the programs you did not receive an offer from. And if one of those is your current like 6 to 12 school, you will again be kind of propelled to the top of that list. Okay. I think I skipped on one thing that I wanted to also speak about. Okay, so open houses. There has been a number of admitted students open houses. Some families are indicating that, you know, my school's not offering one or so forth. We've tended to see most of those for schools that know that they're normally competing with students with multiple offers. Some of them are targeted open houses for students with multiple offers. And, you know, other families may feel left out. If you strongly want to get into that, because maybe you're not considering another public program, but you're also considering a Catholic school or some other independent school, reach out to the school. Many times they may just have you come in then, or can provide more information with you. But the main thing is to reach out, have that contact, and try not to let the system make the decisions for you by just not responding. This is by no means an exhaustive list of, you know, what to do next and how to approach it. There are a number of resources out there. One of them is, as I said, reaching out to the schools. There's also a number of online groups and programs. So on social media, most of the schools have, whether it's Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts, sometimes Twitter or so forth, that can provide a lot of information about many of the questions that families are having, related to programming, related to school culture, related to parent engagement, related to all of these things. In addition, I can speak on Facebook in particular. There is a relatively large group applying to high schools that provides a wealth of information. There's about 10,000 people in it, and there's a similar one for middle schools. These are independently run ones. They're not by DOE, they're not by CECs or anything of the sort, but they just provide information. And as I say, the individual schools tend to have those, including sometimes WhatsApp groups, especially for more competitive programs. And those are a wealth of information for families. So do not feel that you need to go through this alone. Many people have the same questions, the same concerns, the same issues that you may be having. And we're all in it together. You know, as well, if you have questions that you want to direct to our CEC or so forth, we will definitely, as always, pass it along to the required offices and so forth. So that's pretty much it from my part. And, you know, just in case anyone had any questions.
Thank you so much, Natika, for thinking about this topic and to really bring these concerns to the forefront and to really provide a resource to yourself. And, you know, we need more of this, right? And I want to encourage our council members to see a need to present something at our meeting, definitely bring it to my attention, and we'll make space for that. Especially things like this, that a lot of families don't know what to do next.
Okay, one last question I forgot to mention. So there are a couple of new schools that were opened. As a matter of fact, there was a press conference, I believe, this morning that spoke to them. So in that list, and I apologize, it's a little smaller, that I was trying to make it a bit bigger. So there are 2 middle schools. Unfortunately, none of them are in our area. One's in South Bronx, one is in Bay Ridge. And 2 high schools, one of which is not in District 28, but is in one of our not too far away districts, District 30. So Motion Picture Technical High School, and we had the interim acting principal, I believe Mr. Lopez, present at an earlier meeting. So this motion picture tech was on the high school application. They offered, you know, they were offering and moving their wait lists or so forth for their first year. And there is also a new high school, Bard High School, Early College, Brooklyn. So this is a sister to BARD Manhattan, BARD Queens, etc., which will be located in District 19 in East New York. Those applications, if you are on the high school level, are open until April 19th. I believe there is unfortunately a conflict in open house this evening, and there should be one coming up. As with the other BARDs, it does involve as an admissions essay and that program. So this is also a program, like if you are not fully satisfied with your offers, this is a high school application offer that's not necessarily too far away, that's coming out. Okay, the other schools were kindergarten and kindergarten to 5 and pre-K to 5. So for this, not as relevant for this part, but that's about it for us.
Thank you, Tifa. So we're gonna move right along. I want to wish everyone a happy Passover, a happy Ramadan, and early Eid for those who are observing, and also those who celebrate Easter. Happy Easter, and if there's anything I'm forgetting, happy. Happy everything, okay? That's our sentiment. We mean to include all. So happy everything. Now we're going to present our 2 resolutions. We have 2 resolutions tonight that were prepared by the council. I sponsored one, and First Vice President Lu Zhao, he also presented another one. So first we will discuss the resolution condemning extremist organizations, and we can have that shared on our screen, please. And these links were sent out with our invite for our meeting to the entire public for you to have to read. So I'm not going to do an exhaustive reading of the entire resolution, but just go over the gist of what the resolution is, so we can move with the time. As you know, we are in the district office and we have a permit to get out of here by 10 o'clock. So we have to move with a little speed to accommodate all this stuff. So this resolution here talks about condemning extremist organizations and affirming the commitment to inclusivity within District 28 and in the New York City Department of Education. It was sponsored by myself and co-sponsored by Kalyana Gurmurthy, Julie Suh, Natifa Lewis, and Quentin Mezitin. And this resolution is basically outlining that the third one, whereas that we have a commitment to providing a safe, New York City Public Schools have a commitment to providing a safe, inclusive, and equitable learning environment for all students, irrespective of their background, race, ethnicity, religion, or beliefs. And I'm jumping to the third whereas. It says it has come to our attention in this district, and many times in our meetings here, discussion has been made that there are national organizations that promote divisive activities and ideologies, including but not limited to advocacy of segregation, of LGBTQ and special need learners, anti-gender promotions, indifference to excellence and merit, and it is essential for New York City Public Schools to demonstrate strong leadership by denouncing extremist ideologies and organizations that seek to undermine these values. And then we have a list of of asks, and we say now therefore be it resolved that CEC28 condemns. Can you go to the first there to number 1? There you go, the first one. There it is. There it is. CEC28 condemns in the strongest terms any ideology that promotes extremism, division, exclusion, inequity, and violence. CEC28 demands that the New York City Public Schools reaffirms its commitment to inclusivity, equity, and diversity amongst its students, families, and staff by condemning in the strongest terms the ideologies promoted by extremist organizations. And we have a whole bunch of other asks that we are asking the DOE to adhere to listen to. Lastly, it says that we, the District 28 Community Education Council, CEC, hereby affirm our unyielding commitment to the values of inclusivity, equity, and respect within our own reach within the education system, and resolve to take strong, decisive action against extremist organizations and ideologies that seek to undermine these principles. Our students, families, and schools deserve nothing less than the safety, understanding, and support that we pledge to provide. And this is what was presented. I want to acknowledge that this resolution was also prepared, a lot of it by Member Simone Dornbach, and presented at one of our other meetings. A lot of the language is very similar, so I want to give her credit for that also. This is where I got the language from, but it has some omissions from the last resolution, and that's why it's being presented again at this meeting. So at this point in time, we'll ask the public to, if they have any comments, any questions, or any feedback specifically on this resolution, you can please raise your hand, the raise hand feature, and we would love to hear your feedback. You'll have 1 minute each to give any feedback if you have any. And after that, we'll do a roll call for voting, at which point in time the council members can vote and give 1 minute also feedback on your vote and how you're voting. So if you have a comment, question, or concern about this resolution, you can raise your hand at this point in time, and we'll acknowledge you in the chat. Okay, so I did not see any hands raised. So at this point in time, we'll move to our recording secretary, who is in-house now, and we'll ask her to do a roll call, at which point in time, council members, you can vote in favor or not, or present, what's it called, abstain. You can abstain from this vote, and you are more than welcome to give a 1 minute, say something if you like as you vote. So, Madam Secretary.
First Vice President Luza.
I'm gonna talk.
You're on mute.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, I will, support the resolution, but I have said many times before, and I said again, I do not like high level, ideas. I do not like labeling. I want to talk about specifics, right? So the key here is inclusive. How to create an inclusive environment for all our kids, right? So by inclusive, I mean, if you look at all the polls, national polls, right? So for example, Pew Research did some poll on many issues, and you can see a large number of Americans have concern of many ideas. Depending on what the question you ask, for some question, it's a vast majority of the people, right? They are not in favor of some ideas, the so-called progressive, gender, identification issues, etc. So by labeling people as hate group or like they are bigotry or something, it doesn't help to create that environment. So you cannot say, okay, by creating an inclusive environment, I'm going to exclude the majority of the American citizens. That's not the way we can achieve it. We have to go to specific things. Their concerns actually legit. I'll give you an example, the bathroom, situation, right? There's bathroom are separated by gender for a reason. So is self-identification enough to break that barrier? That's a legit concern. And I think there's a solution to it. For example, we can create gender neutral bathroom, which has been the case in Europe for decades, probably not for this reason, but it can work out well. It take care of the safety issue, they take care of the privacy issues, and they create the environment to convince people this we can really address those concerns, solving those problems, instead of calling people and labeling people and create a divisive, environment. So that's what I'm saying. We should pass, this, but we should focus on specifics. Yeah, that's what I've done.
Thank you, Lou.
Second Vice President Narun Swapna.
I vote yes for it. I also have a comment to add to it. The reason why I'm voting is so that we can create an inclusive environment for all our children's students to be the authentic version of themselves, and so that they can find their own unique identity within themselves, because a lot of kids in our community suffer, especially young people, they suffer from identity crisis. And we as adults, responsible adults, we need to help them find their unique identity, whatever it is, whatever gender it is, whatever religion it is, we need to help these young people navigate so that we can live better version of ourselves. They're the leader of our world, and they are gonna take over when we leave. So we want to leave a better world for them. It could be my kids, it could be your kids. It's not about like your kids or my kids. It's all kids. We are the grown-ups. We need to take responsibility, and we are gonna do this together, whether we like one another or not. We need to learn how to be tolerant for the sake of a better future for our children, for a better world for everyone to live in. So we can enjoy every beautiful things we have in this country, in this community, in this state, everywhere. We have to bring the best version of ourselves.
Thank you.
Treasurer Yu Tao Chen.
First of all, I'm gonna have to say I'm for this resolution, and also I'm gonna echo the sentiment by Nura that we want to be set examples for our children instead of resort everything into like name calling and even sometimes abusive languages, and so that's how we can support diversity without creating still keep a safe environment for our kids. So that's what I want to do, and I think that's what our council wants to show the community as well. And for this resolution.
Recording Secretary Natifa Lewis, I vote yes. My comment this time is very simple. As I said, I am for objecting to hate and so forth. I am a bit hesitant in terms of naming names of groups. So I resound a little bit more with this resolution in its current form. Thank you. Next, member Julissa. Are you back on, Julie?
Yes. Can you?
Okay, go ahead.
I also will keep it brief. I think my colleagues here have spoken a lot of my sentiments, and I would just end up echoing that I'm against hate and for children being accepted for who they are. So simple as that. Thank you.
Member GK Kalimura. I'm gonna get it soon, but member GK.
I support the resolution. Obviously, it's a bit maybe redundant, but it never hurts to affirm affirmative things again and again. I support it.
Member Simone Donbar.
Good evening. I have shared with the council before that I'm not happy about this watered down resolution. And by the way, I also want to give credit to Adriana, who has been instrumental in writing the resolution. In particular, I really dislike that we are not specific about what kind of extremist organizations and national organizations we are condemning. However, it's the bare minimum we can do. And therefore, I will support this resolution.
Member Quentin Mesden.
Oh, are you making calls?
It's on mute now, Quentin, or do you want me to come back to you?
I got it. I got it now. Thank you. All right. I'm for this solution. I don't have an extra minute to kind of give you guys all the stuff that everybody else said, but I agree, and you have my vote on this solution.
Member Tanya Wendt. 4. Okay. Member Jalen?
Yes, yes, I'm in favor of the resolution. I want to thank the team for putting this together since the previous version of it. I think it is important for us to, in the midst of everything that's going on, to make a statement of this kind as a group, and I'm in favor. Thank you.
Member Adriana Alicia?
Good evening. I will also keep it brief. This doesn't go far enough, but it is better than nothing. So yes.
President Vijay Ramjatan.
In favor, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so the resolution is unanimously approved.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. And this resolution will be shared to all of our constituents, all of our elected officials, and all of our going to face and everyone in the DOE will get, and also it'll be posted to our website. I want to acknowledge really quickly Cherise Parson, who is here from Assemblywoman Alicia Haydeman office. I see you here. I want to acknowledge you here as well. And you later on, you'll get a chance to bring greetings to the team as well. So we want to acknowledge you for being here. Also want to remind the community, let's keep the chat friendly. We can always agree to disagree, and we can have really great conversations with exchanging ideas without engaging in name calling. I think we're adults, and I want to believe that we can do that. We are this close to shutting the chat down. I'm being honest about it. So just be mindful. We are monitoring the chat very, 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 very carefully. And this is a space that students also attend the meeting and they share this chat as well. And I would ask everyone who's participating to please, we don't have this whole banning people from the chat or this, we'll shut the whole thing down, literally. And then no one can communicate. So please refrain from really any kind of derogatory or blaming or shaming. Keep it nice and simple, but please have your voice heard. Thank you. Okay, next resolution.
Okay, so we have here Dr. Marmer last time talking about the class size reduction laws issue, and we have like we before that we had a town hall. So District 28 was really have put a lot of efforts, like people to know all the information of this law, right? So today we have another a presentation from another opinion on the law. So first thing I want to notice is we all support small class size. There's no argument about that. So there are no convincing needed. We are on the same side. The issue is implementation, right? So the devil in detail. One is money, two is time, right? So do we have the money we needed? Last month we have passed a resolution calling state help to reinstate programs that beloved by the parents and will be on the cutting board next year because of the fund dried up, right? So $1 here is $1 less there, right? So we have to keep that in mind. How to set priorities. And time is another problem, right? So we have a building, any building from planning to finish take more than 5 years. You can take all the example in this district. You can see that, and teacher hiring is another thing. You don't want to flush the flood system with inexperienced, probably lower standard teachers, because if you do it in the rush, you have to really step in. So I think 5 years is not enough time. We need to amend the law to address this. So this now, how long the time is? I initially when I put in 20 years, but we hear feedback from the council. I think at the end of the day, this is not our expertise to say, okay, this is the time we can do it. Right? So I think this is in our resolution, working with NYC DOE to determine a feasible extension of completion date. So 5 years, actually we don't have 5 years, I have 3 years now, right? So for District 28 alone, it's definitely not enough. And so we need more time. How much time? This is between DOE and legislature, they have to sit down and have a very good, solution to it. Now, the second thing, last time, our UFT representative Bruce, he made a very good point that resonated with us, actually. I think Senator Zhang Liu came here in person in our first meeting here, asked a similar question, and he actually made the similar answer. That is, we do not want to give DOE a blank check. You say, okay, let's say 20 years, right? So 20 years, what we're going to do? They just wait 20 years and come back and say, well, we don't have enough time again, right? So we need DOE to be accountable in the whole process. Now, this is the part I have a problem with the current law. The current law, the checkpoint is 20%. Every year, 20%. This is a very, like rough and impractical, checkpoints. The first 20% is very easy. They don't have to do anything. The last 20% is almost impossible. So you only check the last point at the end of the year. Of course, it's not going to do anything, right? So you need to start from the first year to check those plans that take time. So this is what we do in our resolution. So we demand NYC DOE to create a detailed plan to implement this goal. The plan need to be actionable, measurable, and enforceable. It should include all long-term projects such as new schools and extensions needed to accommodate our students to comply with the law. So in this way, right? So every year there's set target. For example, certain school did it start, fund they fund the site? Did they start, like 10% of the building or whatever? So every year there's a checking point for the entire length of the plan. That way, you can keep force them to do what they need to do. So this is the second point we want to make. The third point, I think a lot of people raise this question, right? So which school is actually needed, need more funding, more effort to reduce, class size? Actually are mostly the high performing schools. They are the most crowded, right? The Stevenson, the Forest Hill High School, the Frank Lewis, those are the schools actually need the most effort to reduce the class size. If we rush this, we end up spending all the funding and time and money and efforts in those high performing schools and overlook those low performing schools that actually need, the most. Although there maybe have a smaller class size already or close to the target, but they actually need the money, need the effort. We cannot, put our priority wrong. So this is the third point we make. Focus class size reduction efforts first on overcrowded school with the highest level of poverty and lowest level of academic achievement while planning for construction building for all other crowded neighborhoods. And the fourth point we made also from the feedback from our council members. Many of them talk to their principals, all the different school principals have different answers. Some really support it. They think they have a space, they want it right now. Some schools say we can't do it. Like last month we invited Dr. Marmor, who is a popular high school principal, and the same feedback from Forest Hill High School, Halsey, many of those overcrowded schools. So different schools have different issues. So the current, as Johanna, the president, mentioned, there's an exception clause, but that exception is determined by the DOE and the UFT. We think it need to give the principal more say, because they know the better of their school. So the first point is give school leadership, especially principals, greater flexibility to create plan and timeline that fit individual school the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Lu Zhao, for preparing and presenting this resolution. At this time, we are going to ask the public. If you have any comments, feedback, or questions on topic on this specific resolution, I'm going to ask you, Tao, to do a time check. 1 minute. What you have 1 minute. Okay, so we have one person here. We have, so right, raise your hands there, and then we have people in person here. So What you're gonna do is go to the camera there, right? You can do it there and unmute him there, right? So we have hands up in the room already. So you're gonna be providing feedback on this specific resolution. So we had one hand raised here in the office here, Bruce Zihal, and please introduce yourself if you are from another council. We'd love to know where you're from, another representing an organization, and we'll take feedback from you. And you have 1 minute, please. Okay. So first we'll hear from Bruce Zihal. Bruce, go for it.
Good evening, everyone.
We're not seeing your face though. It's chopped off. Raise the screen a little bit. The camera. There you are.
This.
There you go. Perfect. Good.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm Bruce Zihal. I'm the UFT district representative for District 28 and a 31-year educator in the district. I visit our schools all the time in District 28. I speak with the educators who are our members that we represent, as well as principals. And with regard to this resolution on class size reduction, I propose to the CEC that they take more time to craft a resolution that is specific to District 28. And let me give you a couple of points here that the resolution does not take into account. The resolution basically in the first resolve asks for a blanket exemption. And in our district alone, we have minimally 10 schools that could implement this class size law based on the space that the schools have right now. All they need is the money from the DOE that exists. As Joanna said earlier, $1.3 billion per year, and we would argue at the UFT it's $1.6 billion per year, has been provided to the city and the DOE for class size.
It's okay. It's just, it's still, they're able to see. Keep going. Keep going.
So all that money is there to reduce class size. We have schools in our district right now that can implement the class size law and attain the class size numbers that the law specifies. All they need is the money. So what I'm proposing is that in any resolution that the CEC passes, that it doesn't exclude those schools that can actually implement this law right now. All right, let's get those schools to have the lower class size and demand that the city and the DOE provide those schools with the money to hire the teachers. I'll give you a couple of examples, specific examples in our district that are very clear. PS 196. PS 196 had an extension added to it several years ago. It's empty, not being used. Clearly, that school can implement the class size law right now. PS 206 just had an extension placed upon it, all right, opened up this September. All right, that extension is not being fully utilized. Another example, clear example, PS 86 used to have 1,200 students in it. It's now housing about 700 some odd students. These are just 3 examples of the minimally 10 in our district that can implement this class size law right now. And I'll give you an example today. Yeah, I speak with principals. I spoke with the principal today. I was at the school for another matter. We started talking about class size. I didn't even consider this particular school to be one that could meet the law, class size law. But yet this principal said to me, she thinks that she can do it, right? And hopefully I'll have more time to speak about this in the public comment section as well, because there's a lot more to speak.
I was trying to mute from here, but it wasn't working. I couldn't mute right from here, but anyway, so we went ahead and extended the time for 2 minutes for each of you to say what you have to say. So we gave Bruce 2 minutes. We also give each of you 2 minutes. So in terms of hands raised, we have Leonie Hamilton. You're next. Go ahead. I'm gonna ask you to unmute. Go ahead. 2 minutes starts.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
During the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, a couple of factual errors in this resolution that I'd like to address. The first one is that the class size working group recommended that students be bused far from home. Actually, we specifically wrote in our recommendations that no elementary school student should be assigned to a school that's more than a half hour from home by walking, no middle school student more than a half hour by public transport, no high school student more than an hour by public transport. So we believe very strongly in the guardrails so that no kid is bused far from home. We think that that's important. Number two, there's an error about the estimate of how much it would cost in terms of the capital plan. The SEA has changed their estimates many, many times. When we asked them for an explanation of their assessment that it would cost 30 to 35 billion, they said they couldn't back that up with any specific methodology, and now they've lowered their estimate by about $10 billion, according to their testimony at the last hearing, the last budget hearing. Moreover, when we tried to they said it would take about 85,000 seats, and when we tried to look at how much that would cost according to the per seat cost in the new proposed 5-year plan, we couldn't replicate that number either. And it was about $10 billion less than that. So we really don't have any real sense of how much it would cost. We're asking for a real accounting for how much it would cost, but we have not yet gotten that from the SCA. One other point that I think is really important is that District 28 has the highest class sizes in the city of any district in grades K through 8, where there is the strongest evidence that it matters, and the second highest in grades 4 through 8. So there is no doubt that your students and your kids are highly disadvantaged by having such large class sizes. And you should be pushing the DOE to build more schools in your district as soon as possible.
Next we have is Ari Feldman.
Did that work?
Yes.
Oh, great. Good evening. Thank you for all the work that you do. I just wanted to quickly say I think we're just really misguided in this resolution because the point of our work as parents is to hold our DOE's feet to the fire. So we shouldn't be trying to come up with, how do we come up with ways to let them off the hook? Your rationale that SCA doesn't build very many buildings, that's a problem, right? It's not that we should be saying, well, they don't build enough, so we should give them extra time to build. We should have some kind of teeth to it. The state now has something to say. We should be building faster. So many complaints. We had so many complaints last year. If you remember, we had concerns about high school seats in Queens. There being, I think it was like 26,000 too few seats in Queens. This is what needs to happen, right? We need the DOE to be held accountable to know, and that is the problem, okay? So please, please, please make sure that we are not telling the DOE, oh, you're off the hook. But our job as parents is to say, hey, DOE, you got to do it. And you know what? If you're out of compliance, then there needs to be some repercussions. I know that maybe it will take more than 3 years. Yes, likely it will take more than 3 years for us to get into compliance, but it hasn't stopped the DOE before. Like, the only way that we're going to actually make sure stuff happens is by them having threats of losing funding. Yes, Deb Alexander, we need threats of those things happening so that it actually gets done, because otherwise they're not going to do it.
Fine.
Thank you. Next we have, I think it's Joanna. Did I say correctly this time?
Did Johanna? Yes, my name
okay.
is pronounced. Hi everybody. I just wanted to say briefly, like, call me the voice of positivity. Sometimes I think Deb would say that it's magical thinking, but I think the magical thinking is to think that we are going to get a better law than this. This is the law that passed. It's the law we have now, and it's a law that you can use in District 28 what you need, and which is more schools. And whether or not it's going to, I can speak. My district is I live in Sunset Park, which was extremely overcrowded. It was more overcrowded than most schools in District 28 were, and we got 5 schools built, and it was or 5 schools open. Some of them were taking over buildings that were used for other purposes. Some of it was there was a supermarket that got torn down that the DOE bought, that went out of business. The DOE bought the site and built a school. There was a parochial school that they took over the lease. And I heard in the chat mentioned that there are apartment buildings. There are levers, like use this to get what you need and to get this to happen. Work with your superintendent and talk about the things that you do not want sacrificed in your kids' schools. There's, the whole idea of not having blanket recommendations about how to implement is so that superintendents and CECs and school communities can work together to figure out a plan on implementation that's going to work, that's going to preserve everything you love about the school. And lastly, on the equity issue, I would say this is that, no matter what, the way that schools are funded is going to have to change. It doesn't work. Fair student funding that relies on a certain number of kids per classroom to cover basic costs. It's not tied to costs in a school. It gets a little in the weeds to talk about that. It's going to have to change. And by centering schools that have smaller class sizes and how schools are funded, that will mean that it will be easier for schools that are currently meeting the mandate to meet their costs and provide the robust programming and the robust services all children deserve. You shouldn't have to be in a school with crammed classrooms in order to have robust programming. That's not a trade-off we should accept.
Next we have is Paulette. Paulette, you next. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, everyone. So most of you may know me as a disability advocate and a member of the District 75 community. So I'm always looking at district planning data. And I think that the timing of this particular resolution is strange, considering that according to the latest enrollment data and district planning data, elementary schools, you guys are down 13% in terms of your enrollment. For middle schools, you're down 400 students. What was interesting in looking at this data was that there was an increase in charter school enrollment. So that is the direct result of parents going into our public school systems and being sick and tired of their children not being served because the class sizes are overbearing and they're not getting the attention. We're literally, opening ourselves up to continued privatization of our schools. So, when you're looking at, why we're doing this and why it's necessary, specifically to D28, you guys are in prime opportunity right now to actually be able to reduce these class sizes. And anyone saying in the chat that, it's going to reduce enrollment or it's going to lose seats, no, that's just misinformation. And there's always going to be a seat for your child in the public school system. We just can't allow people to manufacture a scarcity. Right now, you guys are in prime opportunity to be able to reduce these class sizes. ICT classes, we can increase the number of ICT classes because all of the general education classes will need to be reduced. And by doing so, have more students to be able to go into an ICT class. So that's more opportunity for our students with disabilities. And quite honestly, all of this is public knowledge. I'm willing to even put the link in the chat for anyone who wants to read about the district, snapshot in District 28. And if you want to look at District 30 right next to you, or 29 as well, you can, to see the impact that these enrollment declines will have. Thank you so much.
Next we have is Steve Stowe. Stevens.
Sure, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hi, President Ramjatan, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here, and I do appreciate hearing from other members of the working group, including those that I did not agree with. I'm from District 20, South Brooklyn, RCEC. I'll speak for RCEC first. We passed a resolution similar in spirit to this one It calls for an extension of the time period to comply with the law. It calls for implementing the law in grades K through 3, which is where the only significant experimental research has been done. And it also calls for prioritizing implementing the law in the communities, the schools most at need, specifically those with the highest academic need and lowest socioeconomics. That's our CEC20 position. Now, my own comments on this really have to do with this is a bad law, and we have a lot of discussion on what we should do for our schools and what the best ways of educating our students are. The research is mixed, and you have people who say it's strong, and then others who contest that. When the research is mixed, when the cost benefit is very mixed, when you look at cost benefit analysis, and I'll post something in the chat after, class size reduction is one of the most expensive, least efficient methods. When you have this much, as you often do in social science, when you have this much controversy over a particular policy, it makes no sense to have such an all-encompassing, far-reaching law. The law needs to be reformed, and this resolution tonight is, I think, very necessary. We've learned a lot about the law in the last year. We've learned a lot about the challenges principals will face. I'm not talking about DOE Central. I'm talking about talking to principals in schools, the challenges they'll face and the impact it'll have on families. So we need more time. Please approve the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for coming to our CC. This is Rachel. Rachel?
Yeah, hi. Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to put my camera on. Okay. Thank you for the time. I'm really disappointed in this resolution because it seems like it's wasting our time as a district in trying to work on the law that's already passed, as people have said. I think we're wasting valuable time in working together as a district. I've heard a lot of that in the chat, and I think it's a valuable thing. As parents, some of us teach in schools, I myself do, and I know that the conversations we should be having around this shouldn't be an arguing over the validity of the law. It should be in how are we going to get what we need for our kids. And I think that's missing in this resolution, and it's frankly disappointing. As someone who'd like to see good things happening, I think it's an opportunity that we're wasting. And right now we're arguing over something that's really not going to do much. I would love to know where the people who wrote the resolution got their ideas for, like, what the wording is that they put in. I would love to know who they spoke to in maybe researching things to figure out how to write this resolution, but it just doesn't seem connected to what is actually needed at this moment. And I really hope that maybe you could take this feedback and go back to the drawing board here and go back, because just from what the last speaker shared, we're not District 20, we're District 28. And so we should be speaking to families and schools and in our district to really see what's needed. And this law is here, so how can we make this work for ourselves, our children, and our schools? That's really where our focus should be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So I'll give the sponsor of the resolution 1 minute to answer your question.
Yes, the resolution is also largely based on resolution passed by other CC, like CEC28. I think also who will speak later. But I have changed many parts that reflect the feedback from our council members. Also my own take on the issue. There are things I probably think a little bit different from Al, so I will change it. Now, I think District 26 is probably it's the only one that's more crowded than District 28. So so don't mention District 20. I mean, we are more crowded than District 20 for sure. And this is not counting our high school, because high school is not controlled by the CEC, but it's still part of our education. Our kids are largely go to those high schools. For your high school, one particular very crowded, like 200% capacity. So those are issues we are facing. And I do take offense that you say there's no the waste of time or no suggestion, real suggestion. I don't think you give real suggestion how to implement, and I did give a lot of real suggestion how to implement. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Next, we have Deborah. Deborah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for this resolution. I just want to clarify for everybody, this is not a resolution about class size reduction. It's not. This is a resolution about class size reduction implementation. I am super sad that my kids who are in and about to be in high school will not benefit from the class size law, because I believe so passionately that lower class sizes are a good thing. But I sure am happy that they did benefit, and they are benefiting from guidance counselors, from exposure to all of the arts disciplines that they've had, seats at schools that they could walk to. And these are things that are going to be traded for lower class size if the law is implemented as written. Those of us who have been in this chat who are talking about this, most of it does not affect our kids, but we believe so strongly that the way the law is written is problematic, that we're here, we're coming to all these meetings, we're doing all of this stuff for your kids because we see major problems, again, with the way the law is written. And we think there's a better way to get everybody to win. I've seen the same data that all of the people here, I was a member of the working group. And what came out of the working group were a lot of really great positive thinking, long-term policy ideas. Johanna mentioned that school communities are going to work together to find ways to comply, but that's not what's in the law. Parents actually have no voice under this law. The only ones in control of the final decisions and whether or not classes are capped and your kids are sent to a nearby school or a not nearby school is the DOE and the unions. Parents are not included as decision-making partners under this law. But listen, do not listen to any of us here. I'm D28 parents, talk to your principals. Principals are the ones who understand how their schools are run. Bring this up at your SLTs. Ask the following questions. Can we comply with this law next year or the following year? How many classrooms will we need? Do we have to, where are we getting the funding for the teachers? Because it comes out of your school's budget. And if you need, oh, sorry, is that time? Okay, I'll shut up. Thank you again, and I support the resolution.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for coming. Next, we'll have Al Suhu. Al, I want to ask you to unmute.
Okay. All right. So like the two panelists who spoke earlier, I also served on a class size working group. I find it funny, though, that the two working group panelists who spoke and some of the speakers recently are trying to tell us that the class size law is good for District 28, considering that they live in the Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. So what could work in those neighborhoods likely won't work here in District 28. And for those who don't know, I'm a resident of District 28 since the 1970s. I know that class size law will not work in District 28 as written. And your U of T rep, Bruce, gave you inaccurate information. The working group received data from DOE. Every single elementary and middle school in District 28 is over the compliance caps. There's no room to implement the law unless more schools are built. So it's clear to me and several dissenting members of the working group that the law as written is not feasible. 1 year has passed, DOE has done nothing. Why? Because they know it's not feasible. So they're just going to sit there. And to counter the earlier speakers about letting DOE off the hook and going with magical thinking, those of us on a working group who have actual professional work experience realize that the law is not feasible. And anyone who has management experience should know that setting infeasible goals will ultimately lead to failure. So unfortunately, the majority of the working group do not have such experience. And they just oppose amending the law, saying that, hey, it's a law, we can't change it. So let me say that it's not a waste of time to re-examine the law. I counter those who oppose amendments by saying that no law is perfect. Throughout history, many laws have been amended or even repealed. The US Constitution has been amended 27 times. The class size law should be amended so that it can be strengthened and provide a better chance of success. That's what we're all looking for. So members of the working group issued a minority report a few months ago calling for amendments to the law. And the CEC28 resolution is doing just that. And I find the opposition by members of the class size working group be ludicrous. We all want the same thing, lower class sizes. Why they oppose amendments, I have no idea. I guess it's because they just don't understand how to manage such a complex program, and they're relying on magical thinking. But apparently the CEC, they see what's going on, and I support the resolution. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Al. And Al is the president of CC26. Thank you for being here. Last comment for this specific resolution, and after Jean's hand speak, then we'll go to voting. We'll hear members' feedback. We'll hear from elected official representatives, and then we'll go to your public comments that you signed up. So if you signed up to speak earlier on in the public comment section, you will still get a chance to speak. This is only about this resolution at hand. Jean Hannah, I just asked you to unmute. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks CEC28 for putting forth this resolution. I've been following this very carefully because being in an overcrowded district, I understand very clearly what the implications are for my child in this district. And my child goes to a large middle school. I'm on the SLT there. I've spoken with the principal. I've raised this in SLT. And if this law, if the DOE cannot cough up actual land space, which we have not been able to do in District 28 in this area for a middle school for years, then they will have to truncate enrollment. We're talking about losing 200 to 300 seats for students, incoming sixth graders. I am concerned because my child will be applying to high schools next year. And when she applies to high schools and principals are told you have to cut your enrollment because we have to meet this mandate, it has a very real implications for District 28, where you have high schools that are already on a staggered bell schedule, and we have staggered bell schedules all over Queens. We have students that have to go outside the borough because there are just not enough seats within the district. I like the idea of the plan. It is not realistic. We need a realistic timeline. I applaud CEC28 for putting something realistic forward that we can work with, that will not cause chaos for our district, because that is the last thing that we need is more chaos. We have already lost so many students. We cannot afford to lose more when parents start to hear we've got to rezone the entire school district. It is not fair. It's not fair to anyone here. Build the schools out first, and then consider this plan and how we can work it in realistically and reasonably. You know, my child needs a smaller class size, but she also needs performing arts. She needs dance. She needs her art classroom. She needs her dance classroom. You know, to sit there and have schools and school principals scramble to find space within their school just to meet this mandate is unfair. It is unfair to the principals. It is unfair to the students. So, you know, thank you for putting this forward. I strongly appreciate it and I support it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Venus, I saw you just raise your hand, and this is going to be the absolute last person for this topic. I just want to be respectful for your time here, but we also want to make sure we keep on track with our time. So Venus, go for it. Sorry. Venus, I just asked you to unmute, Venus.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, Staten Island elected PEP member and class size working group member. Comments on my own. I agree with the class size law, but not the implementation, the way it is written in the class size working group recommendations. I think it's important that we don't cap enrollment because it will disrupt families. And the extension that we're asking for is not to buy DOE time or making excuse for them, is to actually make the law work. Because we want it, you know, it's simple to that. All parents want smaller class size for their kids, but we don't want to, you know, give up things like art classes, G&T classes, nothing of those sort, like especially for high school AP classes. So I know like some parents feel like it's a waste of time to even talk about it, but the law is a living document. So we really should, you know, look for ways to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this point in time, we're going to ask council members to please keep your comments short as possible. You heard a lot, you have a chance to respond to, but you do have a chance to say something as you vote. So, Recording Secretary Lewis, go for it.
First Vice President Luzao.
I have my case, so yes.
Second Vice President Nurun Swapna.
I vote yes for it.
Treasurer Yutao Chang.
I support the resolution.
Recording Secretary Natifa Lewis. I vote yes. I just want to say that students, if you enter the DOE system at pre-K, you spend 15 years in the DOE system from pre-K to 12th grade. Nobody here has a problem with implementation. What many of younger families tend to realize as they get older is that the priorities in terms of what they see as the primary importance changes. And while class size is important at all stages, you start to realize that sometimes the tracks, the records, or so forth, as the students become more independent, helps a little bit in terms of managing whether it's in a 20 student class, a 25 student class, or a 30 student class. So this class law as written is good. The implementation is where the problem is. And this is why I agree with the resolution in terms of extending that time. I don't think it's fair to say that, the numbers that were brought out of the way, out of the air or whatever it is. Leonie, having been passionate about this for quite a while, provided some, counter information. The ones that are in there are linked to the articles where they came from. So of course, data changes as it goes along. But I think based on the support that we have, to extend the time that it takes to implement it, take into account that even though you may start in pre-K, if you fixed it for elementary, what about the middle school? What about the high school? Thank you. My vote is yes. Next person, Member Jalen.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Member Julissa.
Hi, yes, I'm in favor. I just want to say that I had a personal opinion about it going in as a parent a few years ago, that it was just simple, smaller class sizes, and then learning how complex it is. I really like the resolution because of the language that there needs to be a group working on a solution that is weighing more of the complexities in the solution. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think thinking about how to do this with the complexity of the fact that I appreciate the parents from other districts, but District 28 is unique in terms of the space available. Parents are realizing the value in those enrichment, it's not enrichment, like art, dance, the ICT classes, and the trade-offs are not as easy as I think many of us think it is. So yeah, I just support yes to give this a little more time to work out.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Member Quentin Messeton.
I have many questions. And my questions are kind of just like aligned with a lot of parents that were going back and forth. My speakers are not, oh, you see that? No, this is my mic. Speak louder. Oh, y'all can't hear me. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Talking to the community, but my panel here. So yes, I've been listening to a lot of parents and looking up all this new information that you guys have implemented in the chat. You guys have me thinking and reading and researching. And I don't agree with some things here. And I do see that we do need a resolution. And I'm open to the direction we're going, but not right now. So I'm not approving this.
Okay, thank you, Quentin. Member Simone Dunbar.
Good evening. So what I gathered from the feedback we got from the chat, from the presentation, is that we all, each and everyone here, is agreeing that we need to have small class sizes. Everybody is in full agreement. And I also gathered that everybody here is concerned about the implementation. There are some serious concerns in our district, especially because we are so overcrowded. It's just the way we are going about it is different. Like some parents are concerned and don't trust the DOE, and they rather try to either get rid of the law or make changes so that there is no impact on District 28. And other parents are willing to, or they are choosing the way to fight so that our children receive what they should. I suggest that we join forces, all of us, and that we demand for our kids that the DOE makes those changes. And yes, it's not easy. We have to work hard and to fight hard to keep the DOE accountable. I'm speaking as a parent from children who are attending a school. One has moved on to a different school now, but we have the privilege to be in small class sizes. By the way, there are two other members whose children are going to the same school. Not every grade, not every class is small, but like a big amount of those classes are really small. And both of my children have benefited academically and social emotionally from those small class sizes. And that's, of course, for me, a reason to support the law. But I also agree with the concerns from the community and how to implement it in a thoughtful way. I believe we need to hold our city accountable, especially our district, District 28, because this law it is already in its phase to be implemented, and all the other districts in the city are going to go and will have this law. So the children in Manhattan, for example, the law will be able to be implemented fully for most schools. So why would I, as a mom in District 28, as a council member who pledged to support our families, not fight for this law? The mayor got a lot of time to implement this law, and they have been stalling and stalling and stalling. They have been cutting budgets. They have been making harder and harder to implement this law. We parents, we should be fighting so that this law can be implemented in a thoughtful way, so that G&T programs don't have to be cut, so that buildings can be built in District 28. This has been a problem for many, many years. We need to hold SCA accountable, and we need to find ways to make this possible. For me, it's a question, what are we willing to invest in our children? And unfortunately, I really haven't seen that willingness in our city to invest in the future in our children. And as a council, my question is, are we willing to fight for our children to get what they deserve, what other children will get? New York State, all the children outside of New York City, they will benefit from this law. Or do we resort to giving up and letting the New York City public schools off the hook? That's the question. So I agree with Bruce. I think we should reconsider this resolution and come up with something where we actually did not only talk to a few parents in our own bubbles, but maybe consult with principals, reach out to SLTs, reach out to PTAs, and really reach out to our district to see how we can receive some feedback in how to make it work. That has not happened, to Rachel's point, and I personally know Rachel. I know she didn't want to offend you, Lou, never. She's the kindest person. And I also want to thank you, Lou, for being really receptive of the feedback that I gave, because the 20-year extension didn't make me happy. So unfortunately, currently, as it stands, I cannot support the resolution. I do hope that we as a council, since this is a really important topic in our district, can have conversations. How can we implement it? Not how can we divert. How can we implement it? This is the law. Thank you.
Member Adriana Alicia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make a quick comment that I think, and I agree, that all of our children deserve better. And I think that everyone here at the core of what they're saying is that they believe that their child deserves better than this or whatever the effect of this would be on their child. I cannot and do not support this resolution for many reasons, and I will be voting no this evening.
Member GK Kalyanara.
Hi, my name is Gurumurthy Kalyanram. I'm a little perplexed. I'm actually more than a little perplexed. And I don't know most of you that have spoken from the public. I know some of you. Here is, and I haven't talked to anyone, so this is my own thought exercise. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm fully in agreement with the intent of the law. Small class sizes produce better outcomes. I mean, that is a non sequitur statement. I mean, empirically demonstrated. I'm all for it. Okay, then what do? Okay, we come up with some timetables, some mandates and all that. But there are two consequences, at least two, maybe three consequences. We have the immediate consequence of an implementation. We have a more modest timetable and longer timetable. So people who are opposing the resolution and with good intent, and there's, for example, Ari is a very dear and a thoughtful friend, and he opposes it. And Simone does here. There are other people. I don't know all the names of the people. So the argument seems to, this is my own exercise. The argument seems to crystallize that we should hold our public policy folks and public servants accountable and hold their feet to fire. Fair enough. That's the basic argument. I want to, and I'm a parent, I do want to, but I also want to be an empathetic, a responsible citizen, right? That's part of being a parent. That's part of being this. In that larger context of being, for example, I'm only using Ari because he's a dear friend. I think he's a big man. He'll allow me this indulgence. So he said, we should not be in this business of, and I don't disagree completely, that we shouldn't be providing solutions which ask for money, more money, whether it's a governor or the city to the Department of Education. Wonderful. But, we are thoughtful citizens, and District 28 has got very important, serious citizens. But where is the money going to come from? This is the eternal question. And we are in the midst of immigrant crisis. We know all that. We don't have to do a laundry list. This is not a current affairs Spectrum 1 news. But in the context of this, I'm perplexed how we can. Now, I fully empathize and agree with all of you, those of you, that we need smaller classes. Absolutely. That we need to hold our policy makers and politicians accountable. But that's a little bit uncharitable to them. Policymakers, and I have great empathy for politicians and policymakers. They deal with competing. I mean, you want to make our subways more rideable, if that's the right phrase. Where does the money come from? So my point of this is the trade-off in life. So I thought, Lou said he's drafting a proposal. Before he drafted a proposal, I wrote him, I don't know what you're thinking about. If it is one of giving bridge time to the implementers, I would love that, because my kids go to one of the schools here. They're very tiny. I'm very ancient, but I have very tiny kids. But the principal said, I think the kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, I think the limit is 22 or 21, and they take 25 in 4 sections. If the mandate was implemented, they say, well, they'll go to 88 and not take 12 people. And I was wondering, 12 people are going to lose seats. And this impacts very adversely people who can't afford in terms of resources, time, mom and dad are working. I mean, so in fact, ultimate sufferers of all these things are people with little resources in terms of information, money, time, cognition. So I think we do need a bridge time. And, I'm ready to believe that the mayor and the governor acting in reasonably good faith with competing interests. Therefore, I think this resolution in that sense reflects the spirit. Now we can argue about 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. I have no problem with those arguments. And if someone has another resolution which is thoughtful and holds the public policy people their feet to fire, I'm happy to support that too. My own thought analysis tells me this is a reasonable, thoughtful resolution. You may could be a little bit wordy. I mean, may not be most elegant in parts. That's not the point. In terms of intent and spirit. Therefore, I support it after much thinking, and I've listened to all of you very carefully and tried to absorb. Thank you.
All right. Member Tanya went.
Okay, I get to go last and I get to follow that. So thank you. Hold on one second. We good? Okay. All right. I think that Natisha Grant said it best in the chat. She said, the DOE's got us fighting for crumbs, and it certainly feels that way. What Bruce said resonated with me when he said that there are, he said 10 schools could implement the law now in District 28. He mentioned some of the schools that were discussed or that talked about in the working group, such as 196. What Deborah Alexander said also resonated with me in that she said, talk to your principals, talk to your SLTs. I'm on an SLT in another different school than one Bruce listed. The principal has said, the enrollment has decreased. We need more kids. And it's a Forest Hills school. So this notion that there is no room is not true. Classes have been collapsed and class sizes has grown because we don't have enough kids to break them out, right? We need the funding in order to comply with the law in some certain cases. I do appreciate that Lou had taken everybody's consideration and comments into this resolution. He did, strip the 20-year time limit. He tried to be thoughtful in the resolution, and I appreciate that very much. But at the end of the day, I think that, we really should be demanding that our kids get what they deserve and that we work to comply with this law. We have a lot of power as a group. We're divided right now, which weakens our position. Our kids probably aren't going to get this because we're not standing together with it. I completely can understand that kids don't want to send their kids far away, especially the little ones. I feel that a lot of the complaints are coming from people who are worried about admissions to middle school and admissions to high school, which get very competitive and very, very hairy. My kid's not at that stage yet. I'm not looking forward to it at all. It sounds very difficult. But I think all of our kids deserve smaller class sizes. And I like some of the, the sentiment in the resolution, but ultimately I'm going to have to say no on this one.
Okay, and President Vijay Ramjatan.
Thank you, Natisha. So I feel like one thing that's missing in a lot of this, but Bruce touched on it also, is that where is the money? And what's happening with the money? And I feel like, we can continue giving more time. And I agree that we should give some more time to explore this law. But we had the money and we got the money for this. And why a year passed already without us seeing what the current law looks like in place already? And I think the DOE has gotten used to not being held accountable for the funds that's given for different things. And this is a classic case again, where 5 years will pass and then we'll say, oh, the money was not used. Well, where is the money? What happened to the money? And then let's get the next 5 year, next 5 year, next 5 year. Well, where is the money going to come again for that? So did we just pass a law just to say we pass a law for smaller class sizes, or are we going to actually act on it? This is what I am thinking. I'm in favor of the resolution, expressing that we need to think more. We need to revisit what this law is asking for. I think we put the carriage before the horse in this case here, without understanding fully how it's going to affect the people on the ground, the kids, the little babies, the children, who's actually going to have to face the effects of this law. But more importantly, I would love the council to come up with a resolution. We can all work on a resolution to really ask the DOE, what have you done so far, or thus far, to implement this law, or to what have you done with the money, period. This is one line in a resolution. CEC28 demands an explanation today. What have you done since this law was implemented? And what is your plan to get, when is the date planned to have it implemented? So with this, I vote yes for the resolution.
Okay, so the resolution passes with a vote of 8 yeses, 4 noes, 0 abstentions.
Resolution passed. So we had one person on our agenda. Thank you so much, Lou, for writing this resolution as well. I want to encourage the council. This is exactly what we should be doing. Discussing topics that is at heart of the district. And this is what you were elected to do, right? And I want to commend all of you for really being professional about this, willing to take feedback, but also to really build in the community. It sets us apart as a district, as a council, and keep the resolutions coming. Please keep them coming. That's where we have some say to do. And we do get responses from the DOE, by the way, and we do post those responses on our website, which is CEC28.org, where you can see all of our past resolutions and also the responses that has been given to those resolutions. I want to thank all those who signed, who gave feedback about the resolution, to Bruce, who is here, and to all of you who said a few words. We appreciate your feedback. It's crucial that you come and give us feedback, because we do listen to your feedback during these times. We have a very important person who is here now, still here. I don't know if she's still here, yeah? Okay, her name is Catherine Zapata, and I want to commend her from the Borough President's office. She is the new Director of Education from the BP's office, and I asked her and I spoke, but I asked her to come to the meeting, introduce herself to the community, and let us know who she is, so we will know who, because we have 2 people who sit on our board currently. We have Simone Dornbach and Adriana Alicia, who were appointed by the Borough President. On every council they appoint 2 people to our board, so we should know who our liaison, who our education director is at that office. So at this point in time, I'll give Catherine Zapata the microphone. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you all for having this great meeting. I'm sorry I was a bit late. I was running around to another CEC town hall, but it's so great to be here with you all today. I know we have a busy meeting and to continue, and there's still more to come, but I'm Kat Zapata. I'm the Director of Education to the Queensborough President, Donovan Richards Jr. It's great to be here with you all, as I mentioned, and to hear really the dialogue that has been had among a handful of nuances of education issues. There are a handful of things that I will relay to the Borough President, as I know that we have some strong advocates and voices, specifically with things that pertain to CEC and District 28. I am a resident of District 28 myself, so I'm very, very proud to have this great council of individuals, of you all who step up and who really make things right and equitable in those times. I do want to reiterate that the Borough President is committed to making sure that students are receiving the education they deserve right here in their home borough of Queens, which is why he has allocated $53 million in the past 3 years. He will to schools and CUNY. It is obviously our job as a community to relay where's the most needed areas and areas that really need support and resource equity overall. So I'm here to hear all and any suggestions, feedback, or concerns that you all may have. I will also put my email here in the chat. I do want to let you all know that we actually have a parent advisory board meeting coming up on April 30th that will discuss the new well, not the expiration of the federal stimulus funds monies that will be expiring June 30th. So we will be going over that, as well as the resources across not only our community, borough, but city that will also be at stake when those resources go away. So thank you all for your time, and I'll continue to be here till the end of the meeting, but thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for being here and for really taking the initiative to come in person and introduce yourself to our council. We want to let you know that we are committed to work with the Borough President's Office and really having strong ties and working together collaboratively to further the effectiveness of our children's education in this district. Thank you for being here. Please give him our regards. Now, we're going to be moving to our council member reports. I want to ask you publicly to please keep it to a minimal because we have 9:16 p.m. and we have to be out of here by 9:45. So I will call you here. I want to say, can we agree that we give each person a minute and a half? Is that okay? A minute and a half. Can we agree? A minute and a half? 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Anybody? Okay, 2 minutes max. Okay, I'll do the timing. So let's go. I'll call on first Vice President Luzao. I'm timing you guys.
Oh, go ahead. No, I think I got it. Okay. Very quick. This is not from District 28, it's from my son's high school, but I think it's something we can, the ideas can be borrowed. The LaGuardia High School has the parent coordinator have make it a kind of routine that probably once or twice a month they have this called a coffee and donuts time, meeting parents in their house and invite a few administrator to talk to parents what's the concern. And last month we had this Chinese parents meeting that I was helping to translate everything. It was very good, very good feedback. Everything they, I think our district, many PC. It's better when we interview new PCs. We should mention this to them. For example, 139, when I interview, I mentioned this to her. This is the kind of thing we can expect from them. It's not on their job description, but we encourage them to do this, reach out, do more proactive action. Thank you.
Next, we have Second Vice President. Next, Second Vice President Neuron Swapna.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Like the president said, happy Passover, happy Easter, happy Diwali, happy Eid, and happy other holidays. I want everybody to be happy always. I think happiness is a big thing. Last month I had opportunity to visit a couple of schools, both middle school and high school. Elementary school, sorry. And I saw a lot of positive things happening in our schools, which made my heart very happy. I saw a lot of amazing teachers, which I want us to be able to retain because, teaching is a very difficult profession and we want to keep the best ones, And I also saw some teachers that can grow with professional development sessions and a quote that I wanted to go back to. It's not like we want to have good quality of teachers. Basically, I feel we need good quality teachers, and we as parents, as community, as schools, as everyone, we need to cultivate in helping our teachers do well in school because teachers are very overwhelmed. It's not easy to manage 25 students, 30 students in a classroom. Unfortunately, the resolution didn't get passed today. We will work on it, improve it, and make it get passed soon. And we also need to change the mindset of the teachers that are thinking like, oh, teaching other people's children. We need to have more compassionate teachers, and we need to select good teachers when we hire them. We need to we need to be able to narrow the better ones. We need the compassion teacher. We need people that wants to be teaching, not the ones who are just going in there because they just need a job or they just need the pay. That's one thing that I learned from last month, and I hope as parents and as here, we could all just work with it together. Thank you. Have a good night.
I apologize. Just want to be mindful that we have a list of speakers who signed up, and the public comments are important as well. So I just want to be mindful of that, council members. Next we have is Treasurer Yu Tao Chen.
Good evening, everyone. I really like the sentiment that the president and gave out this to emphasize on the positive things. I want to look back and reflect on some negative things. We had 2 days of very heavy rain and it sucked. The reason I mentioned that is like a lot of times we see negative things, we feel like it's permanent, it's gonna be bad forever, but oftentimes it's just transient. Just like sometimes we have conflicts in this meeting, in this council, but overall we have, in the end, we have the same goal, we have the same desire to help our kids to learn, to grow, socially, emotionally, and intellectually. And so that's, in the end, I feel like we had a good discussion here, and I don't want anyone to have like hold back like conflicts or different opinions, so that we can move forward as a group and as a community. And in the end of the day, I think we're all friends. That's I didn't do my report, but yeah, I'm gonna quickly mention that last time I mentioned that I'm gonna write the resolution on the school lunch program. I did get some feedback in the town hall meeting, and I'm gonna follow up with that and gonna get a little bit more feedback from the community. If you have any concerns, suggestions regarding the topic, please email me, and I'm gonna put my email in the chat room as well. So together we can make our kids eat better and happier at school. So that's one thing I want to contribute to.
And we have on record Vanessa, Jessica Zillow saying me. So she has a lot of feedback.
Okay. All right.
Next we have is Recording Secretary Nadifa Lewis.
Okay, good evening again. So my comments, one concern, some parents were raising concerns. They said they had brought it up already to district and also central regarding midterm elections occurring while students are in school. And why, especially now that we're not using snow days, those cannot be turned into that part. Because although, it's sometimes you are in areas that you have to take elevators, you have to do whatever else, there's not necessarily that full security to ensure that the people who are coming into court are not able to get into other areas of the school. So this is something hopefully the district can take back and provide response to the CEC as to where previous requests to that came in. I had the opportunity today, my daughters were a one-year alumni from the school, but it's also one of my liaison schools. Jamaica Children's Magnet School is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. And unfortunately, because of how that occurred, the first graduating class did not get a graduation. It was 2020. So they had an alumni reception for students within those years. And so shout out to Principal Cespedes, who's normally on here. I don't believe she made it because they probably were in there. So this is one of the things I was able to do, and they're very appreciative of the work that CC is doing. She does ask about follow-up. I haven't received yet as to whether some of their capital programs are updated. And finally, I had quite a number of questions related to, as I said, admissions, both at the middle school and the high school levels. most of those I did address in the presentation. It was part of the impetus for that as well. Thank you.
Tifa. Next we have is member Jalen.
Okay, I'll keep my comments short. For the past month, I mostly focus on, especially relevant to people around me, is the admissions to middle school. Some positive news to share is, speaking of, I'm hearing people saying that there's a decline in enrollment in District 28. At the same time, and again, it's anecdotal stories that people from outside of District 28 actually applying to moving into the district and applying from primary school to middle school. And I met a couple of them. And the process across district, actually across boroughs, has been positive that moving from actually Manhattan, Lower Manhattan into District 28. And one successful story has been somebody who is applying into junior high school 190. And the process has been very smooth because they get a lot of support on both sides. So that's just something that I want to share to be on the positive end of the story. That even though it may be an anecdotal story, not to support the entire statistics of the district, but at the same time, I do want to share there are silver linings in everything that we do here. So yeah, I'll keep it short. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jalen. Next, Julissa.
Hi, I just wanted to announce that we're going to be having an Equity Council Committee meeting. You'll see the announcement soon. Nice flyer that Simone helped me put together. And thank you, Simone, for all your support because I'm new to this. So we'll be having an Equity Committee meeting April 17 at 6:30 p.m. And we're inviting the Center for Family Representation. They had been here before, but we're going to have them come for a longer time so they can do a longer presentation and be around for more questions and answers. Thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Julie. Next we have is Quentin Mezican.
Thank you. Quentin Mezican, D75 rep and liaison to 161, 175, 206, and Queens Gateway. And anything D75, 811Q, just throw those on my table too. This has been a great month. I didn't sneak in. I got the link to the SLT meeting at 175 and I just sat there like a fly on the wall. And I was just listening in awe at all the amazing things that they're doing. Like that is a phenomenal school. And I was just jaw dropping the whole time. Like this SLT has like some high goals and they're executing on every level. The parents are very supportive, the teachers, the principal. And it's at 6:45 in the morning, but what else would I be doing after a workout? So I really look forward to like seeing them succeed more and visiting them in person. And Queens Gateway, unfortunately, we still have some concerns that we're addressing. We've actually taken it from our level and we've taken it to FACE, and we've been getting a lot of support from Dr. Blake's office. So that's pretty cool as we try to rectify these concerns that in some ways haven't been getting better, has just been causing more fuel to the fire. So I still look forward to having a positive outlook from this, but we definitely have a uphill battle with Queens Gateway and their reaction to the PTA and parents. So we're looking forward to come up with some good solutions for next meeting. Other than that, I just want to personally thank again Principal Nicole for taking the time out to come here and share 811Q with us. So it's not just me. I had some support this time. My goal is to get the superintendent to come and say hi, so I don't got to throw too much on Dr. Blake. And they have a good community. I just put the link in the chat. If you have any other questions for 811Q, if you're one of those parents, you can just use that link and all your answers and communication is there. And that's my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Simone Dornbach.
We We said happy so many things. I also want to say happy National Arab American Heritage Month. This month, I had the pleasure to attend the SLT meetings of all of my schools, and it was amazing. I love to see the hard work the schools are doing. I love to see, to observe the discussions that they are having. Many schools are struggling with the influx of newcomer students, and I was really impressed to see how warm and welcoming and how much compassion they are putting in to helping these new students become part of the school community. And really every school community is doing an excellent job. I will be sharing info and resources in the chat about the proposed Queens Bus Network redesign. I believe that this will also impact some of our students because they're taking the buses. There are open houses. Please attend. Make sure that if your child is using a bus, make sure to be watchful because the line could be in the chopping board. So what I would like to do is I've been reflecting on our last meeting. I wasn't too happy about it. I was really upset how I've been yelled at and how I have been treated, but I have been reflecting, like, how did it come that far? And I realized that I have made mistakes too. One of them was that I have been calling out the members and shaming them publicly, and that is probably not the best way to get support. So I want to apologize to my fellow council members for doing that, and I will commit myself to be more mindful and not do this anymore in the future. I will also ask you, council members, to be more respectful to me, to each other. We are the Great 28. When we have issues with each other, we can take it outside, like have a phone conversation, talk to one another. We don't have to put it here on display. I will try to do my part to do it that way. Sometimes it's difficult because in the moment we get upset, but I do think that in general, we all have a good relationship with each other. And I really would like to see us going forward and continuing to have a good relationship, even though we have very different views on issues. But ultimately, our job is to serve our families and our students and to not get distracted by those issues that we have with one another. So I commit myself to not calling you out publicly. I may give you a phone call, but I'm not going to do it publicly because shaming is not a good thing. And I will also not yell at anybody. And I hope that everyone else can agree to this as well. I commit myself to stick to my promises that I made to you. And I hope you all can agree to this as well. And I'm not playing any games. Like, this time is valuable. We shouldn't be playing games with each other. So I commit myself to not be playing games, and I hope everyone can agree to that too. So yeah, my suggestion is moving forward to have something like maybe a mission statement, or maybe creating norms so that it's clear to us how we want to be as a council, how we want to relate to one another, but also to be a positive role model for our families and how we interact even when we are angry. I believe that the chat is really sometimes it's a mirror of how we interact with each other. And I hope that when we have such a norm that we can also apply that to the chat to keep it, to have conversations. And sometimes these conversations are really, really difficult because we're so passionate. But we all agree that we want the best for our kids. So I hope that this is something that we as a council can discuss. That's it from my side for today.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you. Next, we have Adriana Alicier. Adriana Alicier. We'll come back to her. GK.
Hi. So PS 174 is in the midst of recruiting a parent coordinator. I've been on the search committee. 30 applicants, very good applicants. I think the committee has narrowed it down to 6 to 8 folks who will be, there'll be conversations with them. They are proceeding in an organized and thoughtful manner. PS1, these are schools that I liaise with. PS 144, that library was renovated and a ceremony was held last month with district staff and elected members. And PS 144 is holding a family carnival on May 4th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And finally, pivoting back to the resolution today on class size, I'm very supportive of another thoughtful resolution which would demand and ask for the next steps and the monies. And while I could craft it, but I don't know all the data, someone would help on that. And the first line would say complementing the resolution passed by the council on the last occasion. That's my comment. And then I wish all of you, as my colleagues have said, wonderful Eid, a week from yesterday, and a thoughtful Passover. My prayerful greetings to all of you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, GK. Don't leave. We're still here. Tanya Wendt.
Hello. I am surprised that I thought I was going to follow up Simone, and she was going to talk about a big win that she had recently, because Simone and Natifa and I all visited the Richard S. Grossley campus recently, and she was the one that kind of took the lead in kind of emailing some individuals about additional funding for a tech refresh. The funds were secured, so I'm surprised she didn't share it, because she's the one that kind of was the one taking hold on that. So congrats. We're a team. She's saying we're a team, and it's true, which is nice, because even if we disagree on resolutions or disagree on some information, things that happen, we still worked as a team to kind of help get this one done, which was really great and really nice. So they're going to get some extra funding to put in some more surveillance cameras, which they were in great need of, because there were some blind spots in their on their campus. So that was a great win. That was a big win. I went to the district leadership team meeting on March 8th. And besides it was said there, I know a council member already said it, that there was a vacancy for parent coordinator for PS 174. They mentioned that PS 140 is also in need of a parent coordinator, or was as of March 8th. In that meeting as well, it was mentioned that all District 28 schools are have a status of LSI, meaning that's like the best accountability status currently available, and it means that they're in good standing and don't require any outside assistance, which is a good thing. I'm going to put the New York survey in the link. If you haven't taken it yet, please do. It's open until April 19th. Many CPEs are dependent on, they have a goal that they want a certain amount of, they want everybody to fill it out, whether you be a teacher or whether you be a parent, but please fill it out, because your school wants to know your honest opinion about how your experience with the school is going. There is a STEM summer enrichment program available to rising first through ninth graders. It's by lottery this summer, and it's given to students who attend Title I schools. It's a STEM camp, and they're going to be offering 1 week camps and multi-week, I guess, high school programs throughout July and August. I'm going to put those links in the chat as well, in case you're interested and you don't know what to do with your child this summer. if you're still wondering what to do with them. And then finally, I'm gonna send you guys another link in the chat, but there's some students from Forest Hills High School are working on a proposal for childhood pedestrian safety education, and they need your help. They're kind of gathering information and data. So they're participating in a quality of life innovation competition, and their project focuses on developing a curriculum for elementary school students on pedestrian safety. And so they're kind of asking, parents to complete a child pedestrian survey to help them kind of develop their project. And I know Jessica Zillow is here tonight. She almost always talks about transportation and safety and children. And I know that PS 196 just recently had some issues with not having a crossing guard. I know that that can be an issue in our neighborhoods in our district. So if you have time, please fill that out for them. It's a quick, simple survey. And that is all. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'll call once more Adriana, LACA. Adriana?
She indicated that she would have to submit by.
No problem. So my feedback is really quick. Just be careful. There's a lot of violence happening in the community. A lot of people getting robbed, mugged. There happened quite a few families have called me to let me know that in their neighborhood there has been situations happening. So I'll just ask parents to be a little extra vigilant, especially if your children are walking home from school. In the evenings, after school programs, etc. And just, let them know too, to be mindful of carrying their phones in their hands, not to have it in their hands if they're walking home from school, etc. Just to not attract maybe anything, unfortunate towards themselves. Other than that, that's all I have to report. I'm happy to say, let's go quickly now to the speakers list. Is there any elected official representatives here tonight that want to say a few words? Any representatives for any elected office? Please raise your hand. At this point in time, I don't see any hands raised. Vanessa Sparks, I'm going to ask you to please make a comment. We want to make sure we give everyone a chance, so we'll try to give each one a minute and a half to just make a comment, please. Okay, a minute and a half. Vanessa Sparks, you're up. Sharice, I saw your hands up. I'll call you next. Vanessa Sparks, are you going to unmute? I actually unmute.
She's listed twice. I don't know how we do.
Okay, so can we unmute both of those? So Sharice, I'll actually go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I will be very quick. I want to
Thank
say.
you. Good evening. This is a long meeting, so I'm gonna make it quick. Wait.
Vanessa, hold on 1 second, please. Let Sharice finish because we were. Vanessa, okay. Sharice, hold on. Vanessa's unmuted. Go ahead. Vanessa, go ahead.
I think you clicked it again.
I was trying to unmute myself, so let me make this quick. Vanessa Sparks, Community Board 12, representing the communities of Jamaica, South Jamaica, Hollis, Adelaide Park, and St. Albans. I have to tell you, I'm a little PO'd at this meeting tonight. So much time was taken up by people that were not from our district, so I'm gonna make this very quick. During the presentation that was made very, very early on regarding the class size reduction law, and it mentioned the schools in District 28. I noticed that only the communities of Forest Hills, Regal Park, and Cugons were included. I don't know if that was an oversight or if that was deliberate. Secondly, District 28 needs to have its own class size reduction working group. I've heard a lot of voices from outside of the borough, outside of our district, talking about what they think is best for our district. We know what's best for our district. Secondly, I have not seen one principal, staff member, or even parent represent Southern into District 28. And I'm afraid that their voices are going to be left out of all of this discussion. I am personally going to bring this up at Community Board 12's next general membership meeting, that how this meeting took place and that there was no representation, no voice heard from any of the schools in the southern end of District 28, all which fall in Community Board 12. So that's all I have to say. I do want to thank, we have had a number of CEC members attend community board general membership meetings as well as subcommittee meetings. I've seen them, so I want to thank you for coming, whether it's the youth committee, education, or our even land use. And lastly, on a personal note, I am also a member of the Jamaica NAACP's Education Committee, and I'm going to take what I've heard tonight back to them because I want them to be informed. I want them to be aware that as this conversation is taking place as it relates to District 28, none of the schools that are in the southern end of District 28 seem to be in the sea for that. So let me just start. I'm not blaming you guys, but I think moving forward, wait, let me finish. Moving forward, I think 3 times a year you should move your meetings throughout the district, the southern end, the central end, and the northern end, because the concerns of the families in the southern end you will find very different than the rest of the district.
Thank you so much. Sharice, then followed by Jessica Zillo. Sharice, go for it. I can ask you to unmute now.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Ms. Parson. I am the senior advisor to Assemblywoman Alicia Hyman. She is also part of she has school in District 28. I'm too going to take all the information back to the Assemblywoman. She is on this education committee within this New York State Assembly. So I listened to all the information, very informative, both pros and cons, and I would take that back to her. And please, if you have anything that you would like to address or contact her office, I'll put my information into the chat. She's very into education, a strong supporter. That's one of her strong points. She also was a CEC president back in her day. For over 10 years for CEC29. So she's very familiar with resolutions and everything that you discuss. I'm just here listening. I took in what everybody said, including Ms. Sparks, and I will also take that back to her as well. So thank you very much.
And thank you for being here. Please give her regards. And we would love her to visit us and give greetings, please, as well.
Yes, after, unfortunately, she's not here today because of budget.
Okay, so folks, we have literally like 11 minutes to finish the timing here. So please keep your comments to a short as much as you can. Please. Jessica, to the camera there, please.
No, I want to face you.
You want to face us?
So I'm gonna.
Okay, so Jessica is talking to us.
Sorry, I came in person.
Yes.
One thing is participatory budgeting, so I know we have some people here, so I would like to share the participatory budgeting on your website, so the families can vote on that, because it is important. Thank you, 220, they finally got the water refilling station, took about 5 years to get bathrooms, but now it's actually back. Summer Rising continues to be a debacle. I don't know why middle school is just Monday to Thursday. Also, Mel seems to be an open campus, but Mel is the one sponsoring. It looks to be through Gateway. So again, the tendency with Summer Rising, I would like to see the. So when it can hear you, I can't hear her. Oh, that's okay. You can hear me.
No, unmute on your microphone. Yeah, on your phone. On your phone.
No,
Maybe.
no, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, we can.
So that they can also hear you.
Okay, go for it. There you go.
So they didn't have to hear all that. Okay. So summarizing, continues to be a debacle. I would like to see the actual numbers of the sites that are listed here. I would hope that it's not 10 schools to one elementary school again this year, especially on one side of the district. That's extremely unfair. Also, priority should be given to those of the DOE. The Summer Rising program is open to all New York City public school students. But I'm sorry, if you don't go to a DOE school, you should be at the end of the line, so that those that actually want to be in a DOE school, and not a charter school or not a private school, you get priority for the program. I'd also like to request the DOT do a review of crosswalks in their schools and the timing, and it continues to take 5.5 seconds to cross Mel's. It's terrible. So maybe you can make a resolution to make DOT do their job about the resolution. for the crosswalks. I will end on some good news. Thank you to the 112 to give the crossing guards stop signs so that they can actually stop the cars and not get run over. So my good news is, I don't know if that's happening without the district, but I know within the 112, I've seen a lot of the school crossing guards with stop signs. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Next, we're gonna have, so many of you spoke before about the class size law, but I'm not sure if you're here to speak again. So I'm just gonna call you Stephen Stowe. Are you still here to speak again? And it's okay if you are. I just wanna ask you. Can someone help me when I call the names? They can unmute. Stephen Stowe, are you still there? Yeah. Not okay. We're moving along to Bruce Zihal. Followed by Jean Han, then followed by Sasha Cruz. Go ahead, Bruce.
Good evening, everyone, again. And just like Jessica, pardon me, because it is a little weird that when we're here, we're not facing the CEC to speak, and we should be. So I'm going to turn around and speak as you listen. So with my point about the class size resolution earlier was just to take more time and more thought in terms of it. I don't think we've lost that opportunity in terms of passing this resolution. And I think we should think more about things like Vanessa Sparks said. We got to think about all the schools in our district. And right now, the way that resolution stands, it doesn't. It just simply doesn't. All right. It's a blanket statement that says to extend the law. All right. Now, I tried, in the 1 minute I had before, I thought I presented the point that would be most salient to the CEC to listen to. That there are schools in our district right now, including the south end of the district. And I'll go through my list of schools right now, which I didn't have time to before. PS 206, PS 196, PS 86, PS 40, PS 48, PS 55, PS 117, PS 161 partially, MS 8, PS 174, as of when it gets its new extension opened in September. All right, MS 332, PS 144, and today I just learned, which I didn't even think was possible, PS 220. All right. Now, before passing this resolution, all right, this needed to be discussed. That there are schools in our district that can implement this law that we all agree class size should be lowered. Everybody agreed here. And if we all agree to that, we have to look at all of our schools in the district and see where can that happen right now. And it can happen in those schools right now. And this data I just collected in the few days I had from finding out when you published this resolution. I didn't know this resolution was happening. This is a historic moment for the children in New York City, and we can't squander it. All right, we need to have further discussion. I think the discussion here was great tonight. I think there needs to be more. And we got to look at our schools in terms of class size in 3 categories in District 28. One, the schools that I just mentioned that can implement it right now. 2, I disagree with one of the whereases that we don't have any schools that are meeting this right now. I think the CEC needs to get the hard data. And where I heard one CEC member spoke with the principal, I didn't hear others. I speak with principals, I speak with the educators in the buildings, I visit the schools, I see what's going on visibly. And I'm telling you today that the school I was in today for other business, we just happened to talk about class size, all right? I didn't even think that school could meet class size, and the principal said, I can do it. I can do it, all right? So please do not sell our children short in District 28 at this historic moment. So there are 3 categories. 1, There might be some schools that are actually meeting it in District 28 now. Do you have that data? Right? 2, there are schools that can meet it right now, but are not because the city has not provided the money that it has. It's not missing anywhere. They have it. $1.3 to $1.6 billion a year could certainly hire the teachers in these schools that have the space now or will have the space as of September, like PS 174. Right? And lastly, we have our schools that we know are overcrowded in District 28. Those schools will be more difficult, and we all, the whole community, including the principals that were brought up, including the educators, including the parents, including the CEC, all have to come together and figure out how do we work the law for these schools. We're not lost in terms of that now with this resolution because it says we will speak with the DOE about what is feasible. All right, let's get specific now about what is feasible. And if it says we will work with the DOE, are we starting our work tomorrow? And who are we starting it with? So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Bruce. And thank you for coming in person. Thank you. Next is Jean Han. Jean?
Hi, just a few more thoughts on the class size.
Hold you. I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Sorry, just a few more thoughts on the class size law. I don't think anybody here suggested that the law should be scrapped. No one is saying that. I think everybody wants a smaller class size. I think it's more about the implementation. And I have to slightly push back on the last speaker only because let's say your child really wants to go to Bronx Science and they decide to cap their schools. What happens? It's a chain effect. It affects every other school where students, for all the feeder schools that want to go to that school. Same thing. What if Francis Lewis High School caps their school? There's one less school for a District 28 student to apply to, or it will be that much more competitive. So it really has to be looked at. I don't know the solution. It seems like the best solution really is to just give the DOE a little bit more time. Maybe there's a special exemption just for Northeast Queens, because it's not just District 28, it's District 24, District 25, 26, and 28 that are really heavily impacted. And lastly, I just want to say, if any of this concerns you, if you're about to apply to a new school, check with those new schools, talk to the principals. They know what's happening with their school, or what the worst case scenario will look like if the law is pushed through without considering the limitations that we have in overcrowded districts. So that's it. I thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you. Sasha Cruz.
Right. Hi, and good evening, everyone. While we're talking about class size and budget and all this, I think it's important just to address that we just need more equitable education in our schools. Overcrowding would not occur if the same academics and enrichments are available across all schools alike. Spending in the schools are way too frivolous and solely in the hands of administration. Community needs are not being met. Our teachers are being stretched, teaching ELA, math, science, social studies, and art. School leaderships are not equitable across the schools, regardless of the chancellor's regulations. And my ask is for a more micro accountability of the school budget that will allow our children to see proof of the funding available without taxpayer dollars being wasted. Not every school administrator is as savvy in ensuring those dollars are maximized for our children, and we need more accountability and visibility. So we're asking.
Thank you so much. So I looked up on the group in the field in the participants list here. So Venus is not here, Sherry's not here, Rachel's not here, Ryan is not here. So Ari's next. Ari, followed by Shernette, Joanna, I'm sorry, and Al. So Ari, go for it, please.
Great. I'll try to speak as fast as I can.
Please.
Ramadan Mubarak, happy Easter, Chag Purim Sameach, happy Autism Awareness Month, all the things. I want to talk about a couple things. One, the raising hands to sign up to speak for resolutions, I think didn't work for some people tonight. I know it was confusing for me. I missed speaking on one of the resolutions. Jean, who never agrees with me, agreed with me in the chat on that. I think maybe if we can say like speak and then say what resolution we want to speak to, something like that, so that it's clear what we're signing up for. Two, I want to make sure, I want to piggyback on what Vanessa Sparks said previously. We're getting a lot of folks who are from outside of our district speaking, and we really need to prioritize the voices of the people who live here. So if there's a way, maybe we give a shorter time limit to people who don't live in our district, something like that, so that we can make sure that the parents who actually live here can have their voices heard. But I'm also want to just speak to something that I'm noticing, and that is we're not hearing a lot of reports on specific schools from a number of the council members. Your main job as council members is to be liaisons for the schools, and I'm really concerned that we're not hearing. I mean, that goes right back to what Vanessa was saying, that we're not hearing about what's happening in schools. And if we're not liaising with our schools, we're not hearing about what their needs are. And that is really, really, really important. And I just want to really place an emphasis on that. Too much of what's happening in CEC is like, here's my personal opinion, here's what I believe, and not enough on like, here's what I'm hearing from the community, and not just like the community that your kid's school goes to, because we know that we have a lot of people on our CEC currently who are in Forest Hills and right by Forest Hills. So we need to make sure that we're representing all of the community, not just the places where our own kids go. And I wanted to speak to the extremist organization resolution. I want to specifically talk to something that Lou said, which was that he was concerned about that some people may feel that they're getting targeted by being told that their opinions are extreme. And to that, I say something that the Museum of Tolerance says, that tolerance has its limits, and that limit is intolerance. We cannot tolerate intolerance. And I know that part of this is like tiptoeing around Moms for Liberty. We did pass that resolution last month that called them out specifically. And I want to make sure that people are aware that Moms for Liberty is doing things. So for example, CEC2, just this past month, since we didn't pass that last resolution, they passed their own resolution calling for the DOE to review its gender guidelines because they're concerned about trans girls competing with other girls in sports. We are seeing targeting of students. We know that students who are trans have much higher levels of suicide, and we need to make sure that we are supporting those students. And if we are not noticing the actual things that are happening in our schools, the bigotry that's happening in our schools, then we're not going to be able to fight back against it. And so it is our job to protect our students. I want to make sure that we are aware of what is actually happening in our schools currently.
Thank you, Ari. Sharnette Walters.
Hi, everyone. Good night. I am the PTA president for Queens Gateway Health Sciences Secondary School. We're grade 6 through 12. So we are sitting on the fences about a lot of things. So I'm going to try and go really fast. Because I didn't expect to get time to talk, I put most of my comments in the chat. So one of the first things I wanted to address with this whole class size conversation, will there be, to be compliant, is there a timeline for deliverables? And does it have to go through like checkpoints of who gets to sign off before it leaves the school? It says the plan should have SLT input, and can it be done, or can it be just be done where a principal and the UFT sidelines the SLT and does it on their own, and then we don't have parent involvement? We should be concerned about that to make sure there's some sign off within the school system to make sure that there's actual parent involvement, where you say you're doing like a project plan and you say who signed off on this to make sure before it leaves our buildings. Deborah Alexander, I thank her because she pointed out for the processing that we can are we going to be compliant by next year, and how many teachers will we need to have, and where are we going to get the funding for this, especially with budget cuts coming in. With we're going to be losing our ARPA line. 56% of our budget goes to teachers' salaries, and what's left in terms of managing class size issues and what's going to be needed to support the ARPA lines for our kids that need one-on-one attention, it's going to become a complicated domino effect in the end, where the money is going to be trying to squeeze $1 out of 50 cents. And I fear where certain schools like ours, which is a select school, screen school, we will lose 30 kids per grade. And that's 120 kids for middle school and 120 for high school, which means our budget money allocation, which is affected by enrollment numbers, will diminish even more. We're already a small school struggling. We're not Title I. We don't get any money extra. And the monies that we do get, it's earmarked specifically for things like furniture, software, and you can't move that money to spend it anywhere. And then we're told you have to spend the money by mid-year, X year, or whatever the case is. And then we waste money buying, 10 sizes of Promethean boards. My point is this: if we don't change how budget allocations are done, which have been in place for decades, and then you have an oversight where the district office determines how we align our monies for our CEP, this whole conversation is just a rolling, thing that goes back and forth, and it does not achieve the goals that we want for our students. Because at the end of the day, we don't get to help decide where the money gets spent, especially for these class size issues.
Thank you. Al Suhu, please keep it. I know you spoke earlier on, so I'm actually really keep it short because we are over time already. Please.
Got it. Okay, so just be great town hall last month. Just be careful about the motives of the speakers who were invited to speak tonight on the class size law, right? One is Chief of Staff for Robert Jackson, the main architect behind the class size law. Another one is Johanna Borkin, right? District 15 resident and supporter of the diversity plan. She sees the class size law as a way to force a diversity plan in every single district all over the city. Lainey, you already know, and I agree with what Vanessa Sparks said about outsiders spreading their ideas that might not work in District 28. So you need to understand where they're coming from. You also have to be aware of the false information that are being spread, right? 10 schools in District 28 with space is an inaccurate statement. The DOE gave us in a working group data on every single school in the city. So just be aware the U of T is strongly motivated to keep the class size law as is, and is actually spinning false claims and trying to bully CECs, SLTs, and PTAs into falling in line. Gotta let you know, I've gotten a complaint from a principal who said that a U of T chapter leader stopped the principal from discussing amending the class size law in an SLT meeting. They're resorting to these kind of tactics.
Thank
So
you.
Okay, just two more points. I had a meeting with John Liu. He wanted CECs to criticize DOE for inaction on the law, and we plan to do that in CEC26. We also passed a resolution to demand accountability from the SCA to build schools more efficiently. The last item, John Liu, I asked him about the OML and the possibility of 100% virtual meetings. He said no way because the upstate senators won't agree. So my idea is, how about we just hold hybrid, but we relax the quorum requirements and allow the members who join virtually to count toward quorum. So for example, let's say 3 members in person and 4 members or 5 members virtual, and that counts. You have a quorum. So try to do that, think about it.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, community, so at the time now is 10:08 p.m. This brings us at the end of our calendar meeting. So the calendar meeting is adjourned. There's no break. We are moving right into our business meeting. So please, Latifa, please do the roll call really quickly, please.
Sure.
So to the community who is here, all the public members who are attending, you are free to leave the meeting at this time. Sorry, we're not unmuting everybody because we have to continue with our meeting. But you are welcome to stay on board. Please mute everyone, so that no one can unmute, and also the reaction tab, you can make sure we take it off. But we have to do a few minutes of our business meeting. This is a consequence of us really taking a lot of time to talk during the meeting. So we have to do this part, please, a few minutes. So, roll call.
President Vijayaram Jatin.
I'm sorry, today is 4/4/2024. This is our business meeting for April 2024. This meeting is called into order. Go ahead, please.
President Vijayaram Jatin.
I'm here.
First Vice President Lou South.
Yeah.
Second Vice President Narun Swapna.
Present.
No.
Are you
Present.
Yes. Treasurer Yu Tao Chan.
Here.
Recording Secretary Nativa Lewis here. Member Jalen.
Yeah, here.
Member Julissa.
Here.
Member Quentin Meston.
Here.
Member Simone Dunbar.
Here.
Member Alicia, Adriana Alicia.
Here.
Member J.K. Kalyanaraam.
Yeah, here.
Member Tanya Went.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming in person. Thank you to all 100 of you came in person. Thank you all. It's wonderful. You all stood out. Thank you. You all stood out. Okay, so we have to move to the calendar meeting. Can we please have the minutes up on the screen, please? These minutes were sent out for your viewing pleasure, so you have time to review them. So I make a motion once it's shared on the screen. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Thank you so much. Can you please do this?
Absent.
Yeah. How many we have?
We have two.
Okay.
Both are, locked in.
Can I have a cookie, please? Are you gonna have the cookie?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two, absent. Form filled. One is for Jaden, who joined remotely and for family reason, and another is a new round because the work arrangement also joined remotely. So we have, can we move to approve both of the absentee?
Can we just do a quick roll call to we approve both? Just call down the list. But let's say we commit one call for vote, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a resolution, so we can
Just call it a
adopt
voice
just
vote.
like,
Yeah.
you know.
Anyone object to Neuron and absenteeism? Is not correct. Absentee form. Okay, so they're excused.
Okay.
They were excused on both ends. Okay. We did count. Okay, so this is the point. We have the date for the principal legislative breakfast. It is on Friday, May 10th. That's the date that most of us agreed to. So do your best to attend Friday, May 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. But no, that's in preparation and breakdown too. That's in preparation and breakdown. Set up, all of it. Yes, all put together. Okay. May 10th.
The breakfast.
The principal legislative breakfast. Okay, that's one. Two, we got York College going to be hosting us this year. In a space on tomorrow, the myself we see the space with Vic Ryan and Marine. So Vic kind of played a key role in helping us to find that space, so we can bring it back to our district, and that's the goal. To really find a space in the district to host the town hall. So please, your college agreed, and we are grateful for that. Tomorrow we're going to see the space, and we'll survey this space and try to take pictures and all of you, so you can see what we're working with, and we'll talk about next stuff. Food and beverages has been handled by Dorinda. Thank you so much for doing the back end work and ordering all that, because purchase orders had to be put in way before. So that was taken care of, and thanks to the back end work, and we worked on that on the side. Natifa, last time you had arranged name tags for RSA members. Can you do it again? And you can figure out how that can be done, but can you take me in charge of that? And you're gonna bring it on the day off, right? Event. That's what Natifa is doing that. Natifa, Adriana, and Julie, will it be okay to arrive early and oversee decorations and setup? Natifa, Adriana, and Julie. Oh,
Sure. I don't know. Maybe.
maybe can you get back to us as soon as you can?
What would be early?
Early can be, well, if the events we have in the space from 9 a.m. From 10 a.m. So I was thinking by 8:30.
That's perfect for me.
Yeah, I'll be there too, VJ.
Yeah, I'm just decorate.
Have a man on the list?
Of course, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there.
That's perfect for me. I'm normally classes that way around 8 o'clock.
Quentin, you said yes, you too? You said you too, yeah? You do what? Yes, he said yes. Quentin said yes, yeah?
Yeah.
York College, to be 8:30 on the 10th? Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yes, I can help out.
He said yes, okay, good. Thank you, Quentin. Adriana, yes.
Yes, yeah, I'll be there.
Thank you. And in terms of, so that's the decoration committee, VJ, Quentin, Simone, Who else? Latifa, Adriana, Julie will let us know, right? Think about what we're doing. Balloons, tablecloths. You remember what happened last time with the whole situation? Let's make sure we have that beforehand and we agree on time on that day.
In addition to the pictures of the space, can you also report on like how easy it is to access? So
Yes,
you can consider
entrance,
the,
the whole, yes.
arrows and directions.
Yes,
We
right?
also need a solid plan for the weather.
And I'm just calling the names, Tanya, Simone, and Lou. Will it be okay for you to assist Dorinda with sign-in sheet, ensuring everyone puts on their name, escort them, et cetera, to the seat, et cetera? Of course, Dorinda will be able to help out, but can you assist with that on the day off?
Yeah.
Yes, yay, thank you. Is that a yes? Okay. Oh yeah, that's a yes. Cleanup. Jay, Jalen, if you're back in town. Quentin and GK, can you help at the end with cleaning up? Yeah, I don't know what it means.
I'll be love to help out if I'm.
Do you have to have a broom with me or just... So the answer is Vijay, I'll be there and he'll be okay. The answer is yes, I will help. Adriana, Simone, or Tanya, can all three of you work on the flyer, please, for the event? Adriana, Simone, and Tanya, like this. Come with an idea.
VJ.
VJ. Can we do that? Yes. Go ahead, Adriana. Go ahead.
I have a question or note really. Since on the flyer and for decorations and all that stuff, I think we need to discuss, not right now, at some point, a solid plan for the weather to betray us again. Because last year it was extremely hot and we were concerned about that. And then there were the wildfires, which made it impossible for us to ask or expect the entire community to show up. And I know it was super last minute and none of us expected it. We could not have planned for that, but we can this year.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so that should be like, let's just have a contingency plan, a solid one.
For sure. And we can take it to the chat and talk to them, right? Principals, legislators who are elected officials, parent coordinators, and parent leaders in our district. And this year we're going to be inviting presidents of PTAs to join us. This 150 people approximately to come there, and it's a thing that we've been doing, but we'll talk more about it, right? Okay, the rest of the stuff here, we are doing the rest here. Antifa, will you do the national anthem again for us? Sure. Yes. I think next to it. Certificates, every year we do the certificates for graduation from school. Tanya, would you be able to help out Dorinda with a spreadsheet and managing that in terms of putting it into order? She'll work with a printer to get the order in, or maybe you can help assist them to collect the names of the principals.
Yes.
So what we do is we send a form out to all the principals, and they will provide with us the categories we give them of the names of the students who they want to give those awards to. So we'll talk more offline. Thank you. As we heard today with members who spoke in the public there, we need to do more visiting with the schools. I know we did a great job last couple of months. Let's get back on that and let's be more proactive in visiting our schools and ask these questions that people are asking. Ask them as you make your visits and reach out to Dorinda, and she will do her part to reach to the schools and schedule time for you. We are being held accountable, so please do that. You have a question?
I have one comment. Okay.
I saw this mindful. I saw a security guard that's gonna watch me. I don't want to go past 18:10, 18:20. That's 2 minutes. Please can go. Principal, PTA president, and parent coordinators. So it has historically been parent coordinators, principals, elected officials. The district office, CEC. And then last year we invited parent leaders in our district. And then this year we felt like PTA presidents need to be part of this conversation as well that we're having. No, instead of budgeting, we should think about next year how we can limit and add assistance principles. But if there's someone you strongly feel you want us to have there, we could just talk to us. You know? And then also too, if you are a council member and you feel strongly, I really feel I want to have this person come. I feel like that way you're allowed to invite one person from the community as a guest of yours. Is that fair? You as a council member to invite a member of the community that you feel should be there on that breakfast, invite them as your guest. Is that okay? Jasvier? Okay, I want to, Adriana, I want to make sure, yes. Adriana, do you have anything to say? Natifa first, go ahead.
And this comes to what we're doing right now. We are doing a disservice to ourselves and our community. I have reiterated it before, especially when we have resolutions that we know are bringing out things and business to discuss. We have a month between meetings. We can extend our permit to 11 p.m. I know the permits were put in at the beginning of the year. It's not that bad. It can be done for PTA. It can be done by that, especially if it's yes, we can. Okay. There is just paperwork that needs to be in there. During the reach out to them because it is not fair to our business to be rushing through an hour stuff in 10 minutes.
I agree. I agree. So we can look into that and see how we can extend for the remainder of the year to have at least that. So we don't have to do that. I agree with you. All right. I think we covered everything. Lastly, Adriana first. Anything on your end, Adriana?
Nope, all good, and I completely agree with Natifa.
Thank you. Let's continue the conversation on the chat for the breakfast. April, May. We only have one. Oh, that's recently. That's really quickly. April, May. It's coming right there. Next month is the breakfast. So we have to work 1 month. Okay. We really have to work fast, quick. And we need all hands on deck. The time now is 10:21. Meeting adjourned. Business meeting. Good night, everybody. Please disconnect.